This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to a very dry northern Sabi Sands. My name is Brent Leo Smith and we've got some male lion tracks going up and down here. It's really nice to be back in the low veldt after an extended period in Kenya. Of course, I have Dangerous Dave the Dish on camera with me today. So nice to see Davy as well. Nice to see everyone back in camp at Juma. Now, I wasn't out this morning. I haven't seen Taylor and I haven't seen Tristan. So I don't know whether you saw these lion tracks this morning or not, because Dave was being lazy and sleeping as well. So we don't know. Remember, if you have any questions for us, hashtag SafariLive. They look quite nice. It hasn't been too windy today. And the problem with this road is that often there's vehicles going in and out, sort of camp logistical vehicles going in and out. So they do drive over tracks. Now, the reason I say they're quite nice is I don't think you're going to be able to see from here, but the tip of this lion track is actually on top of a bushveld skink. And the bushveld skink is a daytime animal, so he wouldn't have been running around at night. And that track is on top of the bushveld skink. So we've got tracks going in both directions. It looks like there's been a tractor on top of them as well. And I think these also look quite nice, the ones coming this way, except there's a dove on top of those ones. So I think we're going to follow the ones heading towards the north. Oh. Maybe Final Control can tell me whether these lion tracks were seen earlier today. Can you, Final Control? So the tracks weren't seen, but there were two mangy Mungen males. Now, I think were they at the pan, Louise? So this could very much easily be them. Apparently they cut off east. We're right on the eastern boundary, so they might have moved during the day from further down. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go drive on Torchwood, which is something I've never done before. So that's quite exciting. Well, I have driven on Torchwood, but not live, so that could be fun. Who knows what wonders we'll find down there. Okay, I'm going to try and figure out the conundrum of these tracks before heading into Torchwood, and later I think I'm going to look for little Hosanna, who's not so little anymore. But of course I'm not the only one out here. Let's send you to the Mara.
Welcome up to the Mara Triangle in Kenya, of course. We have dodged a thunderstorm. It rained and rained and rained on our tents earlier. Didn't think we'd be able to get out, but seemingly where we are right now, it has not been raining. So there we go. That's the orographic rain for you. Welcome. My name is Steve. I'm joined once again by Archie on camera this afternoon. And we are heading towards sort of the south area. We got a report that there are some cheetah brothers on the property. Very good. Very likely could be the border boys. We're not sure. We're going to go check it out. So I'm sure Brent has told you the all important hashtag SafariLive, or jump on the YouTube chat stream and at FC. Keep your questions relevant to the topics, and your name should feature on the show. Well, the Today Show this morning, or this afternoon, wherever you are in the world, how exciting is that? Very cool. Very cool. So on we go. The wildebeest have kind of moved up from the plains where they were. It's very muddy down there, so they've kind of elevated themselves a bit. That's why they seem to be a little bit more up here. It's still quite muddy here, but it's not as low lying. So it's also this side, that side. And we're hoping not far away on a GPS pin that I got, because we are now connected with some of the guides on the property. There were two cheetah boys, and then we bumped into a guide on the way, and he gave us an update on where they could be. So, could be very exciting, but I'm not sure whether we'll be able to do any off-road driving. So, I'm going to wait until we get to the scene, see what's going on. Beautiful day though, after such a lovely morning. And James and I were chatting a little while ago, Big James, and if you were watching the show last night when we had that lion busy hunting, as soon as we went off air, because we kind of couldn't really see anything, as soon as we went off air, it looked as if, looking at James's footage, I haven't seen it yet, that lioness actually did kill a wildebeest on our camera, but we didn't see it because it was so dark. But how marvelous will that be? Sorry, Lou, I didn't hear the name there. The Today Show is such a big step indeed. I can't say I've really watched too much of it in my time, but the name stands for itself. Black Keys, interesting. Yes, indeed, the Today Show. Archie, I think I'm on the right road, eh? Yes, Archie's giving me the thumbs up. Sometimes, you've probably noticed it in the past, I start getting a bit lost if we're live and we're talking, and then I start ending. I've done that on Juma a few times, and VM looks at me very sternly because I've suddenly gone the wrong way, and I was like, sorry VM, I was concentrating on chatting. And you know, us guys multitasking, well, I'll be honest with you, we're not that good at it. The road is finally nice up here. We've been slipping and sliding all over the place down there. Every time a car comes towards, we pull over and the whole car slips off the road. Yeah, Rocky, we've left the baboons down in the valley. That way, we've left them to their own devices. Those of you who were not watching this morning, well, I'm not even going to update you on that. Just let's say that someone thought I was blushing after that segment. I was laughing so hard. Archie quickly panned away, and thankfully we were not in a school drive. That would have been really interesting to explain. Not only Tundi, who's having some me time this morning. And on we go. You can see the herds of wildebeest all over the place. They're loving the rain that has come. And hopefully in a few minutes we'll be able to find you some cheetah. That would be very exciting, and it's promising that there hasn't been any rain here, that the ground might be quite solid and quite hard. And that's why a lot of animals are up here as well, because hoofed animals in the mud, it's very tricky to move around. You slip and you get stuck, and also you can get caught a little bit easier. A splayed foot of a cat, much easier in the mud than that of a hoofed animal. Talking about hoofed animals, here are the largest hoofed, well, not hoofed animal, but they are very big. Here we go. Romit, well, that is a very good question. Very good question. Romit wants to know which part of the Mara here is the closest we've been to Similand. Romit wants to know which part of the Mara is my favorite. Romit, it's hard to say really. They're so diverse. I mean, around the river is quite dynamic, and the marsh area is very productive. Oh, she's missing a tail. That one ran away. That must be awkward. Not having a tail. Shame. Can't even cover up. The further and further sort of south I go, really awesome, the wide open spaces. But I think so far, my first drive in the afternoon when I got back, we drove along the escarpment road, and you've got the mountains to one side and the open plains to the other. I think that so far has been my favorite area. But where we're going towards now, we've had some good times there as well. The spaces are so open and so wide, and there's just nothing for miles except for animals, and that's very, very awesome. At Eland, the wildebeest, all just enjoying themselves out here. Some zebra in the distance, elephants around. Pick whatever animals you'd like to see this afternoon. Let us know on the #SafariLive or on the YouTube chat stream. And after we find the cheetah, maybe we'll go find some of them. We could possibly go back to some lions, but in the area that the lions were this morning, that is pretty much where the rain fell. So we're avoiding that for now due to the slippery nature of it. But what a switcheroo we have this afternoon. Brent Leo Smith in Juma, and someone else will be joining him shortly. If you don't know, I won't spoil the surprise. And what a switcheroo. Myself in the Mara, and Brent and I had a little chat the other day, gave me some insight, and due to Brent, I have been given the information about this cheetah now. So thank you, Brent. I thank you very, very much, all the way down there in Juma.
Well, my pleasure, Steve. So we've got quite an interesting little conundrum happening here with these lion tracks. So we're back on them again. Connected. Oops. So I'm just trying to figure out. Now, were any of those, I'm going to ask you guys, remember #SafariLive, were any of those two young males limping quite badly? Is my question for you. As you can see here, it almost looks like this male is dragging his foot, his back. Injured avoca male. So you can look at these tracks here, you can actually see this lion is injured and he's dragging his back foot as he's walking. So he might not be too far. Now, was the injured avoca one of the ones that was seen this morning? So otherwise these are different lions from those two ones that were seen this morning. Now, when tracking particular a lion like this that's carrying an injury, you have to be a little bit more careful because you might get a negative reaction, as in straight at you. But if he is injured, he might not have walked too far. So I just want to have a quick look down here. His tracks go off into this block here. And it looks like, I'm pretty sure I saw... Okay, apparently he was limping quite badly a few days ago with Tristan. Now, it looks like there's lioness tracks here as well. So quite a bit smaller, of course. But quite interesting, you can even see how he's dragging his leg. So his tracks go straight across here and into this section here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to loop around. See, there's that lioness track coming away from where his tracks are. They're a bit more difficult to see. You see them there, Darby? Yeah, they're a little bit more difficult to see. So there's lioness tracks in this area as well. Nice change after zero tracking in the Mara. First day back, and we've got wounded male lion tracks. So especially at this time of the day, I'm going to look very carefully into the shade. It could be very, very flat. It's quite warm. Yes. Okay, I'm going to try to figure out where this wounded avoca male is in the wildebeest, because the Mara has beautiful HD, is it, Davy? Full HD color. You can see all the green, not so much green, of course, at this time of the year. Now, if I was a male lion with a limp, I'd be under one of the bigger, shadier trees down there. So I'm going to speed up a little bit and go around. Ooh. Now this is even more interesting. Even more interesting indeed. The fact that there are lioness tracks, limpy male lion tracks, and buffalo, a herd of buffalo tracks running towards the east. I wonder if the lions maybe got lucky in there and that injured male heard the females on a kill and went, free food! But you can see quite a big herd of buffalo. Now, as I say, it's fresh, but at this time of the year, let me just get a stick. This looks like it's quite old, but it has been quite hot and quite dry. And you can see as soon as I open it up, moist, wet, and fresh. And those lion tracks are heading this area. Now we've got, I'd say, not a massive herd, probably about, oh, maybe 50 or 60 buffalo running off that way. So could be, we could find lions on a kill. They could, of course, as they do almost every single time, missed and then gone to sleep sad. But at this time of the year, the lions have a success rate, especially with animals like buffalo, actually increases. So on average, a lion's hunting success rate is around 12%. So 1.2 times out of 10 do they actually manage to catch something. Now with big prey like buffalo, especially at the end of the dry season, October, which we are now, they will increase slightly, maybe up to 15 or 16% success rate. Not with your smaller prey, but with your bigger prey. And the reason of that is of course because of the lack of really good grazing and whatnot. So it's a tough time to be a buffalo. It's a great time to be a lion. Okay, so it sounds like we've managed to find Stivofo back in the Mara, and of course he's going to be in wonderful color, full of greens and whatnot, but also some grey and black.
Thanks, Brent. Good luck with those tracks. It was always nice being back in the south of Africa where we can get off and track again. And here we just got some beautiful scenes of elephant and wildebeest in the open plains. But and a zebra, of course. What absolutely boggles the mind is if Archie can show you in the distance. Now, just pay attention, folks, to the dark spots in the distance. Just have a look as he pans. Now, that is just the start. Watch as he goes right. Have a look at all of these animals. Wait for it. There's a big herd. There's only the start of it. If you keep going. Thousands upon thousands of wildebeest down in the plains. As Archie pans a little bit more, you'll see them come into shot now. That was just the beginning. Where have they gone, Arch? Still coming. He was doing there we go. He was doing a very nice slow pan for you. Look to the left. Look at all of that. Look at all of that. That's wildebeest. All just eating grass. Look at the top of the screen in the valley there. Thousands and thousands. I wouldn't be able to give you a number, folks, but the migration is in full swing here. And after the 2 days of rain, we've had the grass is flushing and the wildebeest are making the most of it. All of them with their heads down eating. Photosynthesis is at a very high rate. And there's a wildebeest bottom. They're just feeding, feeding, feeding. June, well, you want to know when they want to head south, or it's basically a lot to do with the seasons. You know, if we get too much late rain, they might stay a little bit longer. But October is generally the sort of time when they turn around. But the migration was a little bit late this year, so I expect it to be a little bit late returning. But just like with birds, mammals will migrate due to conditions. And if the conditions are good, well, what is the point in moving? They've got a long journey to go. 1,800 miles or so the entire journey can be. So it's a very long round trip. And why leave if you don't have to? The elephants moving off in the distance and wildebeest are just munching away. This area here was burnt, so the rain is coming through and is really helping it to flush. And it is in the benefits of this area that the wildebeest do move off, because this enormous amount of disturbance over a period of a number of months then moves off and then actually provides the sort of the bulk organic material in the ground and the sort of necessary disturbance that over time will then regenerate this by next season, just in time for them to return with their... Oh, look at that little youngster on the left. He's running. It's found itself in the middle of a whole lot of wildebeest, and it's not quite sure what to do about that. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? Such beautiful scenes out here, folks. We're very blessed. Very blessed, and obviously the elephant are making use of the grass as well. And very, very nimble their trunks must be to able to graze on such short grass here. Greg, elephants can be solitary. You can find individual males together, or you can find groups of males together, adult males with some younger boys that kind of hang on and follow them through, learn the routes and the ways forward. And then you also get breeding herds, which are basically comprised of adult females with their offspring. And those herds can be really as big as 100, 200, but they will break up into smaller units when conditions are less suitable, less favorable. But and when conditions are in good nick, you can get large, very large herds of elephant who, living for a very long time, do get to know each other quite well, and it's quite something. I think Tristan had a brief visual of it this morning, of two herds coming together and sort of greeting each other. It's quite something to see elephants after not seeing each other for some time. It's almost like spending some time at the airport when you see people who've arrived from overseas greeting loved ones, and suddenly it's all very exciting. You see that with elephants, except we don't stick our noses into their mouths where elephants do. We rub up and roll and touch each other and touch trunks and breathe into each other's mouths, and basically indicating exactly where they've been. We just hug, kiss, cry, and give each other presents. It's a very similar sort of process. Imagine we were at the airport and we watched people run up to each other and give each other a proper sniff all over before proper hello. Ooh, where have you been? That would be quite something, wouldn't it? But if it happened normally, it wouldn't be weird. It would just be the way things are done. Well, folks, the biomass on this plains here is just incredible. There are thousands of tons of meat walking around there, and all being provided with by the grass, which is all stemming from the volcanic activity a very long time ago, and it's producing the beautiful biomass that is feeding all of these animals, which are being captured by the energy of the sun, and one by one, lion and hyena in their own right, and bird and small mammal are facilitated on these open plains. Really an amazing spectacle to be a part of, and I am very blessed to have been a part of this so far. Very good. Well, we are going to move on now, and we're not far away from where I believe our cheetah brothers are. I believe they could be the border boys, but I haven't seen them yet. But let's jump along down the road and let's go and have a look. Okay, well, Brent is doing some tracking, so if you're stuck with me for a little bit, folks, I hope that's okay. It's okay with me. Don't forget to send through your questions. We are here to entertain and to discuss. The lovely smell after some rainfall is just, it's also taken away all that dust. Alyssa, no idea what the black box was for. I think we'll just leave that mystery there, shall we? One of those mysteries of the bush we shall never find out. I wonder, Brent would probably know, don't you think, Lou? Brent probably invented that box, actually. He probably put it there. First one ever to make a box like that was Brent Leo Smith. I bet you if you show Brent a picture of it, he'll know exactly what it is. Exactly. Every single inch of the detail. So there's a small little pan over here. I think it's man-made. There's a little bit of digging going on, and every night I've come past it on this direction. I haven't found too much there, but on the way home at night, I've found two saddleable storks 3 or 4 times in a row, just sort of perched in the middle there, obviously safe from predators, nowhere else to really hang out here. So just on a little island in the middle there. We'll see on the way home if they are in fact here, because you can see they're not here now. So they're out somewhere enjoying some food, enjoying some nutrition on the open plains, and maybe we'll find them on the way back. But one of my highlights of the week was finding those juvenile saddleable storks. That was just incredible. If you didn't see that element of the show, I thought it was marabou storks to begin with, and then they walked up to the adult and saddleable stork were begging. It was so cool to see. Very bland looking. They'll get there. They'll get there. Very nice, because there's only 60 breeding pairs of them in the Kruger Park. which means there's 120 birds in Kruger National Park, which is an enormous area, 60 breeding pairs. It's very low, very, very low. So to see 3 chicks, well, we are up here. I don't know what the population is up this side of the world, but very cool. Well, very exciting stuff, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, we are nearly getting to cheetah, but something else of a highlight is waiting for you down in Djuma.
I'm back, and I'm really happy about being called a highlight. Thanks, Steve. That was really very kind of you. A very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to Jamie's part of the safari, where apparently I carried my camera curse, oh, that's quite nice, across from the Mara to Djuma. And as soon as I got into the car, everything stopped working. But we're good. Conrad has managed to fix everything. And we've got a nice example, well, we had a nice example, now we've got one. But something that I'm very excited about, because we hardly ever got to show you these in the Mara. We have a little steenbokkie, and next to it was a little duiker, but now it's moved. It was such a nice combination of 2 of the smaller species of antelope that we see here on Djuma. We've never yet, as far as I know, managed to get a Sharp's grysbok on camera, which is the only antelope species that is smaller than those 2. A little steenbokkie, I'm so excited. We hardly ever saw them in the Mara. In fact, I think one of the few that we did see was killed by Malika's boys. It must have been over a year ago. So I am thrilled, obviously, to be back driving around Djuma. I feel thoroughly discombobulated. I don't remember where anything is. I don't remember what the names of the roads are. Well, no, I know where everything is. And I know how to get there. I still remember the roads. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much, little Dacre. Here we go. We often get asked about the differences between the 2 small antelope. You can really see the difference in colour in this light. The greyish colour of the, you guessed it, grey Dacre, and the reddish colour of the steenbok, almost like a steen, or a sort of a stony colour. Funny that. Quite appropriate. And then a slight difference in the shape of their backs as well. It's not often we get to see this comparison, so it's nice for our newer viewers. The slightly flatter back of the Dacre over there. It's an awkward position. And then the slightly curved back of the steenbok. Oh, thank you everybody for the welcome back. I am so disturbed right now because the Game Drive channel is chattering away in my ear, and I haven't had to deal with that for a year and a half. So I'm still remembering how to talk and listen at the same time. Elephant skull. Okay. I'm just trying to hear an update on Tundi from this morning, because I'm very, very excited to see my favourite female leopard. Okay. And the 2 antelope going their separate ways. Interestingly, they fill essentially the same ecological niche. Oh, and apparently lots of you congratulating us on our Today Show appearance. Thank you kindly. It was very, very exciting, and it feels like ages ago that we actually did that, but it wasn't all that long ago. Right, I'm going to keep reacquainting myself with the layout of Djuma and try and remember where to go and what to do and how to drive these tiny little cars. While I do that, let's go across to Brent, who has something of a head start on me.
One second, guys. Now I'm getting all the greetings. Hi, Tux, nice to hear your voice, and thanks very much, Orbs, nice to hear your voice as well, from the Djuma guides. Copy, thanks, Tux. Sorry about that. Lots of greetings coming through. Nice to hear everyone's voices again. So the lions missed by the looks of the tracks. Oh, let me turn down the... Oh, wrong button, wrong one. There we go, let me turn down the game drive quickly. What was I saying? Oh yes, the lions missed. You can see where the lions went at the buffalo when I went for a little walk. and then the buffalo went off that way. I think both the lions and the buffalo might head towards the closest water point, which is on Torchwood, so I'm going to head down towards the water, see if we can get any luck there. So it'll be quite nice to find that male. I want to see how he made that track. It's going to be quite fascinating. So when I first thought, I thought maybe he was carrying food or something. Then closer inspection, I saw it was definitely an injured back leg dragging along. Chantal, yes, I definitely did miss being able to get out of the vehicle and follow up on foot. There's something quite special about staring down a male lion on foot. One of my favorite things to do. Now, this time of the day, you never know, we might get some elephant towards the water as well. Just double checking that any tracks here. Around.
Hello, I'm here. The good news is that I'm here while Brent's signal disappears. Apologies for that. I gotta say hello to Taxon. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, we got back about an hour before drive, so I haven't said hello to anyone. So give me 1 second while I say hello. While I do that, I'm going to send you to Steve and the Mara with a secretary bird, and I hope you enjoy that because I think we're going to miss them here.
And look at what we found! Moving through the long grass, looking for all sorts of things. It just goes to show you that there is life in the short grass that we probably don't even know about. Rodents, snakes, lizards, nestlings. There'll be a number of ground nesting birds around, and the secretary bird is an expert at rooting them out. That beautiful long leg, pair of them. One of the most awesome birds, I think. We don't get to see a lot of them down in the south, and we're almost seeing them on a daily basis up here, which is very, very cool. You might ask why that is. Well, first of all, habitat is a very important element, and not only do they need the wide open spaces to forage, they prefer sort of short stunted thorny trees to nest in. And if you don't have either the wide open spaces or the thorny trees, well then the bird won't breed there. And if they don't breed there, well then they won't spend their time hanging around. There's one moving and there was another one further on. This is the first time I've ever seen two together. It's disappeared now. No, it's still moving through the open plains. Very cool though. The other one is that side. There we go. He's not hunting any zebra. Well, it just gives you a good perspective on the size, doesn't it? In relation to those zebra in the background. Lindsay, very good. I'm so glad we could find you one. And in this case, two. Very, very special indeed. Those very long legs are very well adapted for catching and killing snakes. No feathers on the legs. To have feathers on the legs, when you look at snake eagles, they don't have feathers on the legs. A lot of birds who are quite specialist at snake catching don't have feathers on the legs, and that's because to have feathers, you need blood system or blood circulatory system to the skin to allow the feathers to grow there. And if you had feathers on the skin and a blood circulatory system, well, first of all, if you get bitten, you would get envenomated, and well, I don't think these birds have got the same sort of immunity that the honey badger has got, and having the feathers also makes it difficult to see what they're looking at. Chris O'Reilly, no, the secretary bird, that's what they look like all the time. I don't know how to tell the difference between male and female. They look pretty much exactly like that all the time, so I've never seen them any different color. I could be mistaken, but I've never seen them a different color at all. But we are in the area where we're told that the cheetah are. We're trying to figure out exactly where they might be, so bear with us if you will. Also just trying to find out if we are allowed to go off-road in this area if we do find them. And so far, we don't know. Scanning the horizon. Apparently they were here somewhere. Cheetah normally when they're lying down, their head is sitting up and they're looking. So grass is quite long. There's a few herds of zebra and wildebeest in there that are being lost in the vegetation. So if you lose them, well, it's very easy to lose a cheetah. And a pair of cheetahs, that is. Looking for vehicle tracks, because no doubt people would have stopped here on the side of the road. Very characteristic sort of movement when people stop watching something on the side. There's nothing so far to indicate anyone has stopped here. You keep looking. Sometimes these GPS pins aren't as accurate as you'd like them to be. I know mine aren't. I dropped a few this morning and they were, well, embarrassingly far out of place. I wonder why. Technology, eh? Technology. Can't see anything, Arch. No, nothing at the moment. Have a little scan with the binoculars. Cal-6, secondary bird is, I think it's regarded as bird of prey. It's not regarded as a raptor, though. That's a very good question. It's a very good question, actually. You stumped me on that one. That's kind of a, I mean, they are sort of snake-catching birds, but they're not a snake eagle. Very good question. I'm going to have to figure that out as we try and scan the lonely landscape. We'll try and see at least what family the secretary bird belongs to. So you'd assume the cheetah would be sort of hiding under one of those trees, unless they've moved off. It's possible that they moved off on the hunt, and well, you know, trying to find them again now would be tricky. The pin was 2 hours ago, so okay, secretary bird, Sagittarius serpentarius. Obviously because of their favoured food of snakes, but they feed on amphibians, insects, reptiles, birds, eggs, small mammals, rodents. Most prey caught on the ground, killed by a hard downward blow of their feet. They can also catch francolins and mongooses, but they can even eat tortoises swallowed whole. Well, it doesn't sound like a raptor to me. A raptor generally is classified by the ability to crush prey with talons on their feet and then to rip it apart with their beak. So the secretary bird actually sort of smashes it with their downward, very strong foot. But the foot itself is not a raptor-like foot. It's very different in design. But Cal-6, thank you for a very good question. It's probably one of those just on the fence kind of birds. But they, yeah, I'd say, being a meat eater, they're a carnivore, they're a raptor, but they're not bird of prey. A walking bird of prey. First one that we come across. Okay, well, we're going to move forward here, see if we can come across any sign of these cheetah, hopefully the border boys. But in the meantime, Jamie has found a giraffe.
I found a really spectacular view of a giraffe. I'm going to have to get used to this again. Trees in the way of our shots. That hardly ever happened in the Mara. I know I promised to hug a few trees when I got back, and that I shall do, but only when I'm on bushwalk tomorrow, I think. It's going to be such a charming thing to be out on foot once again. There we go. We've got a male giraffe tucked away in one of the drainage lines. That is around Philemon's Dip, I think. Yes, Weaver's Nest, Philemon's Dip, Ingwe Alley. I'll remember the names eventually. And you can see it reaching up with, using its tongue to actually reach up for almost invisible leaves. And this is a nice time for giraffe after the barrenness of the dry season. A lot of the trees, although it doesn't look like it at the moment, a lot of the trees are just starting to get their leaves. Look at it. This is a really sensitive operation, this, to try and pluck away the new leaves before we can even actually see them. Shame, this poor giraffe. It's really struggling. It is incredibly dry at the moment. No drier than I've seen it in the past at this time of year. But it is dry. The marulas, the knob thorns, they're all just starting to get their new leaves. I honestly don't even think that was a nice green leaf there. I don't know why that giraffe settled for that, because the only green thing I can see in that frame is the leopard orchid at the back. I think that's what it is. Tucked away in one of the trees. Looks like it. Let's watch this technique. It takes some serious skill. It's hard to imagine what it must be like to have a tongue like that that can reach all the way up and stretch in the way that this giraffe can. Now, as spectacular as the view of this giraffe is, and it is truly spectacular, I must get on in my search for a tundi, and Brent has found something even bigger.
Yes, a lovely little elephant bull. Hello, mister. Doing similar to what the giraffe was doing, except, of course, he's got the advantage of his trunk, which enables him to sneak between quite a lot of the fallen trees and thorns and pick out his little titbits. I'm probably about, I'd say, just around 20 years old. Now, we heard a breeding herd a little bit further up the Mulwanini, and he's obviously just hanging around on the peripheries. He doesn't want to get scolded. Here you can see him using his feet and his trunk there. What you found? Joshua is wondering, how much has the bush changed since I was last at Yuma? Well, I think it was last year in May. Darby, do you remember? I don't either. It's all a blur. Well, it was a lot greener, of course, and quite a lot of water around in all the pans and whatnot. Personally, this is my favorite time of the year. October going into November. The driest time of the year. The sightings are generally better. I just really like it, and it's nicer to track. Lots of different reasons why I like it, but dry season is by far my favorite. You can actually see him. There we go. Actually kicked a fallen tree out of the way to get to that. I can't see what plant he's eating at this distance. Looks like it could be a baby grevia that he's pulled out. Or is it a piece of a guarri? Piece of a guarri. That's interesting. Now, elephants will eat guarri, but it's definitely not one of their favorite foods. And of course, at this time of the year, not that much to choose from.
Sorry about that, everyone. Brent is exploring the signal reaches of Torchwood, I imagine, which essentially means that obviously with the highs and lows of the layout of the property, we can't necessarily, we can't cover everything with signal. So he's disappeared for now. It's okay, he'll be back in no time at all, I'm sure. I'm still meandering along down Twin Dams, and I'm just enjoying being back here. And as I said, reacquainting myself with this vehicle, which takes some getting used to. It is dry, but it's a lot, there's a lot more grass than there is further. So Hoedspruit is further towards the mountains, and it basically forms a rain shadow. Oh, Romit, my standard answer to this question. So Romit's question is, what do I look forward to seeing the most? My standard answer to this question is the same as to what I would have missed the most in the Mara, which is the people. So there are a lot of people here that I have not seen for a long time, and with whom I've worked very closely in the past. So it's really nice to be back and see some familiar faces, and of course, to be back before Madam McCurdy's departure. I would have been devastated if we had missed her. So all of those sorts of things. Lou is cooing in my ear. I missed you too, Lou. I'm happy to see you too. And after that, I'm really looking forward to seeing Tundi. I have not seen her in a long time, and I have never met Tlalamba. Not once. You guys have watched her grow up since this big, and I have not seen her once. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm hoping now, because apparently she made a kill this morning, just in this block over here. So I'm hoping that I might actually get there and find that she's with little Tlalamba. That is my hope for this afternoon. And of course, I'm really hoping to reacquaint myself with the hyenas of Djuma, as most of you know. Give me one sec. Go. Thank you. I'll be there in 5. There we go. Aubrey's found this. I'm very excited to go find the hyenas again. Apparently, the den was found and then lost before my return. So they managed to find the den and then lose it before I got back, which was terrible scripting on our part. Unless, of course, we plan it out so that I find it again, which of course is exactly what we're going to do. We've deliberately moved Corky's cubs until I could get back because it was a little bit too soon. I'm joking. Okay, I'm going to go see Tundi. Let's go and join Brent, who's found some signal and is still with his elephants.
Well, we're not sure what happened with the signal, but we found the breeding herd we could hear a little bit further away. Hi, guys. Gentle giants. Beautiful big females, 2 of them. There's one at the back to the left a little bit, Darby, where the 2 little ones are playing next to her. She's got lovely long tusks. Hey, big girl. They are just such wonderful creatures. This one might. I always love it when they sort of surround you. Not a big herd, it's quite a small herd. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4. Now if you speak elephant, which I've been trying to learn over the last while, that almost sounded like a weaning grumble from that female at the back. It's like, you're getting too big to be drinking milk, little one. 7 elephants. Another one's popped out of the Mulwanini. I'm hoping the little ones are going to come out of the thicket, but we're just going to sit patiently. Magic Dragon Wizard says, I love that sound. Me too. It is an awesome sound. You just keep quiet. Oh, there's more Ellies coming in from behind. Now, what I want to do is to just keep really, really quiet for a second, so you can just listen to the sound of them feeding, and we might pick up some more of those lower rumbles that you don't normally hear. I don't know if you guys heard, but there was one of those low, almost contact greeting rumbles. Now, we've been fortunate enough to spend some time with Bob Poole. His sister, Joyce Poole, is the leading expert on elephant communication in the world. And do yourself a favor, go read about some of her stuff on the different sounds, and that's how I've been learning, is actually listening to some of her research. And she plays the different sounds, and then you can try figure out if you're right or wrong. Oh, look at her, look at this one here. See how that she's moving the broken branch. She just lifted it right up to get to the grass below. Don't worry, that wasn't an elephant, that was me. Absolutely stunning. And I'm pretty sure they're heading towards Torchwood Waterhole. I'm not sure if we've got signal there, but I'll find out. But in the meantime, I'm sure you're ready for some spots this afternoon.
Well, I know that I'm ready for some spots this afternoon, and once again, Djuma has delivered. I heard a rumour that if you shake a tree in Djuma nowadays, a leopard falls out of it, and it's safe to say that my first afternoon back, that has proved to be true, with the lovely Tundi devouring what looks like a dacre, so that little antelope that we saw earlier, obviously not the same little antelope that we saw earlier, otherwise, oh, fluff, fluff, fluff. Fluff. Hello, girl. Did you get a mouthful of fur? Fluff, fluff. Not even leopards enjoy the taste of a very fluffy, furry mouthful. Oh, Tundi, how wonderful it is to see you. Now, where's your daughter? Not to be fussy or anything. She's looking good, isn't she? She really is the most amazing cat, Tundi. She's cemented herself as my favourite leopard years ago now. It feels weird to say that, but it was years ago, when she had her previous litter with little Tumba and Tumba's sister, who unfortunately didn't live long enough to get a name. But Viam and I were sitting with Tundi before Karula disappeared and before Tundi took over her territory. We were sitting with Tundi in her old territory, and she'd killed 3 male impala. And she'd sort of strung them up like some sort of macabre baby mobile thing from the trees. And we knew she had her 2 cubs there, but we hadn't actually seen them. And then all of a sudden, a troop of baboons came through, and she behaved like, she acted in such a heroic manner. Fluff, 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 fluff. That's what Tundi thinks of my sappy story. Fluff. She doesn't want to hear tales of sappiness. That's not her style. Lou tells me she's been nicknamed Terminator Tundi due to her hunting abilities. Oh, yes, that looks like a baby dacre. Where are we taking it? Are we off? Oh, I haven't even finished telling you the story of what she did with the baboons. Anyway, the baboons tried to catch her cubs. She charged in like a veritable, well, Terminator, I suppose, and she saved them, both of them. They both got away. She went for one of the baboons. And let me just let Orbs go ahead of me. He's staying back. Let's not both move while she repositions. Let me just let Aubrey move. She moved in, and she ran sort of slowly away from the baboons, drawing them away from her cubs. There she is. She's just moved to the shade. I still want 2 engines on in the same or at the same time, just because Tundi doesn't particularly like noise. She never has. She doesn't mind people being around her as long as you behave. How are you doing, Orbs? Thank you. I'll speak now. How's your view there, Craigie? You've got a... not the best. No, beautiful. Awesome. Well done, Jamie. Well done, Craig. Yeah, award-winning leopard shot. Okay. We're going to sit with Tundi, I think, for most of the afternoon, just because I would really like to reacquaint myself with her. I'm saying the word reacquaint a lot, but that's what's happening this afternoon. In the meantime, off to Steve.
Yes, well, we found the tracks of the vehicles that went off. We could see them in the far distance. We were all the way over there, and now as we've come close, the vehicles have just disappeared. Maybe they thought we were someone official, but there's some vultures just over here. I've found another track. We're just going to get around. There's quite a strong rocky outcrop over here that I don't think we can drive over. We're just going to try and get around it. I'm thinking the cheetah are just there. Don't you think, Arch? Archie thinks so too. So the vehicle, one went that way and one went that way, so we're just going to get on the other side of this little basalt outcropping, and hopefully we'll have some success. We found just a whole lot of vehicle tracks, and then we found the sausage tree that was detailed to us a little while ago, but other than that, the directions are pretty scanty, I'll be honest with you. You know the sausage tree over there? Yeah, okay. Anyway, we found it after tracking the vehicle tracks. Here's a warthog. Apparently the cheetah had got a warthog, so is this a family member over here that is on its own, running around without a friend or a colleague or a sister? We're not quite sure. You see the warthog's enjoying the new grazing as well. Nice flash grass coming through. Doesn't look to be too upset though, be honest with you. Well, we're just going to follow this path a little bit and get around this outcrop, and then hopefully yeah, that one's pleased it didn't get caught. It's the same with the wildebeest. You know, you see wildebeest being caught left, right and centre, and there doesn't seem to be too much sort of unhappiness amongst them. But that's because they're like, well, it didn't catch me. They called old Bob over there. It didn't catch me. Called Bob and his son, or Francine and her daughter. If your names are Bob and Francine, I really am, please don't take any offence to what I've just said. Okay, so the outcrop is a lot bigger than initially thought. Try and get around it. We'll find some vehicle tracks, no doubt, that follow it on. There we go. This is very exciting. The explorations that are the Mara. We find roads that you didn't even know existed. Then you find yourselves just here in the middle of absolute wonder. We were through a big herd of wildebeest there just before, just scattered around. It really is something quite special. There's another 1,000 or so up ahead. Trying to get towards this big tree over here. Sorry, Arch, it's a bit bumpy. I think we're getting around. Vehicles, as I said, have all vanished. Don't worry, we'll find them on our own. Sackage 9, my favourite thing about cheetah. Well, sure, what are you? Such cool animals. I haven't spent too much time with them in my life, but the speed that those things can move is just out of this world. Out of this world. I've seen cheetah hunting in the past, and how much distance they can cover in a very short space of time is absolutely mind-boggling. And being on an open plain like this with the camera that Archie's got makes for possible viewing, but it's almost impossible to see them in places like hunting, like in places like Djuma where there's lots of trees. Well, we're just going to have a little scan over here, see if we can find cheetah. There's some Thompson's gazelle and some zebra. There's a car all the way in the distance now. Okay, there the cars there. Okay, I've got them. They're in the distance there. Can you see the one vehicle? Arch. Right. Right. There we go. On the termite mound. There's one. Fantastic. Okay, well, we're going to make our way over there. Somehow. There's a little 2-track just over there. Let's get onto that again. And while we make our way around, let's go back to Brent and his communicating with the elephants.
Well, we've got a little guy who's about to pop out right next to us here, Dave. There we go. Hello, you. Hello, Trouble. Oh, you got a torn. Oh, dear. Trying to keep up with Mom, worrying about us. Managed to get himself hooked in some Sisyphus. It's a big herd. Now, this is a different herd to the ones we just were with. Let me just go forward a little bit. Now, the reason I've stayed a little bit further back from these ones, there's a very large tuskless female who started looking agitated from 100 meters. So the ones closest to us had no problem. They came right next to us. But that big female, she didn't seem to want to have anything to do with us. So I just gave her a wide berth. I can't actually see where she's gone now. That one's got tusks and she's moved off. She's quite far already. But there's a nice little interaction going. Oh no, you're going to get it on your head. Don't do it. You're going to get it on your head. You're going to get it on your head. Oh, you're going to get it on your head. You're going to get it on your head. Oh, it's on your head. Silly little Ellie. Now, of course, you can see how the elephants have come to smell where that other one is defecated. And there will be all sorts of information that they can attain from that. But that little one wants to get, it's got to get it on the head again. It's getting it on the head again. Now, often, not often, every now and then you see a little elephant with a green splodge on its head. And that is how that happens. Mom, keep up. Mom, don't wait for me, wait for me. And Mom stops to evacuate her bowels, and baby is standing right there. Beautiful. Now, as magnificent as it is seeing elephants in the Masai Mara, I do quite like them in this dry climate. And by no means am I knocking the Mara. I absolutely adore the Mara. But for me, the Lowveld is home. Well, the dry bushveld, should I say. Whether it be the Lowvelds of South Africa, or South Luangwa, Lower Zambezi, Savo, Samburu. I'm forgetting my favorite, the Okavango, Chobe, Linyanti systems. I always seem to prefer them to the sort of big grassy wetlands, or not wetlands, but big grasslands of the Mara and Serengeti. Not to say I don't love them, but I just prefer the drier bushveld myself. Could be something to do with the fact that there's more wild dogs as well in those areas. I must say, I'd say probably my favorite national park in Kenya has to be Tsavo. Spent a little bit of time down there. Jamie and I are quite lucky, very good friends of ours. Their family has a plot of land adjacent to the national park, open to the national park. They've got a little conservancy there. And we spent some time camping there in December, January, or December last year, January this year, which was quite special. Walking in those combretum thickets. Oh, Puma would like to know, why are the male lions of Tsavo maneless? Well, they're not completely maneless, and you do get maned males in Tsavo. Now, one of the theories is because if we think the Sabi Sands is thick, you've got nothing on Tsavo, and that Prenoides, the Terminalia thickets there, are just almost impassable. Okay, well, there's the girl who wasn't so happy a little bit earlier, so I'm just going to give her a little bit of space. You can just see by her body language as we popped up, and just not as comfortable as the rest of the herd. Oh, excuse me. Ah, look at that. I think that's the herd of buffalo that ran away from the lions is just there inside Chitwa Chitwa. You see them there, Dave? Aha. Okay, I'm going to head towards the buffalo. While I do that, let's send you back to Jamie, who's still with the gorgeous Tundi.
Gorgeous Tundi, absolutely stunning. The yellow of the grass, I understand completely what Brent was saying about the joy of seeing elephants here, the joy of seeing leopards here. For us, this is very much home. And just looking at the colours here, it's so vastly different. I know it sounds bizarre because it's the same sun, but we are a lot further from the equator, I suppose. But the light is so, so different. I have to laugh. I don't think you can see them anymore. Can you still see them, Craig? But I've come all the way from Kenya to escape the Great Migration. No. Yes. Come all the way to escape the Great Migration and look at one of the first animals that I see here, apart from Tundi and her steenbok. It's the herd of the wildebeest that have followed me all the way from Kenya to South Africa. Murphy's Law, indeed. Hello, wildies. They were walking straight towards Tundi earlier, but they've now changed their direction. I think they heard her chewing. Anyway, just thought it would be entertaining to point those out. For our new viewers, they, of course, are wildebeest here as well as in the Masai Mara. We just don't see them in quite the same number that Steve would be seeing them in Kenya at this time of year, where the true bulk of the Great Migration has arrived. Fair enough. Luz pointed out that at the start of the migration there were actually more wildebeest on Juba than in the Mara Triangle. That's fair enough. We also went live from the Mara at that point. So we were seeing there was the one really sad, lonely wildebeest before the migration arrived. And then he got eaten by hyenas and immediately replaced by the next one. Either way, Tundi's not bothered by the wildebeest. They have been known to chase leopards in the past, oddly enough, but most of the time they'll just avoid them. They're not going to panic if they see a leopard like this in the way they might a lion. They might snort and stare across in her direction, but in this case they've just decided to move out of her vicinity, just erring on the side of caution. I think she's going to finish this entire deka herself. I don't think there's going to be any calling Tlalamba. There's not the biggest kill in the world, and she's got to keep herself fed and healthy as a priority. And Tlalamba's getting to the point now where she's old enough to be able to hunt small things for herself, and she's going to be spending more and more time away from Mum. So I'm so glad that I've managed to get back here in time to see her properly. You can see her using her carnassial teeth there to really get down to the bones. I once watched Karula, Tundi's mother, for those of you that don't know. I once watched a Karula finish an entire steenbok, the entire steenbok, I'm not joking, in probably under about 40 minutes. It was way back in the beginning when I was just starting to get to know her. And when we went and investigated later on foot, all that was left, if I remember correctly, all that was left were 2 pieces of a jawbone and maybe a hoof. In fact, I don't even think the hooves were left. She managed to finish the entire thing. Okay, she was very hungry. But for a small kill like this, although we think of hyenas as eating bones, for a small kill like this, leopards and lions will also do the same. Now, the larger of the bigger cats with spots has a powerful jaw, powerful enough to crush bone. But there is a smaller of big cats. Let's go see.
We couldn't find one of them. It was sitting on top of a termite mound. The one was flat, and the other one we couldn't even see. And then I was scanning everywhere for it. There were definitely 2 males, and it was just in front of us, lying on the ground. We hadn't seen it. Well, they don't look like they've eaten. They were licking their faces a moment ago. The guide we saw earlier said that they had a warthog, but, well, there's no warthog here, and they don't look like they've eaten a warthog. There's a few Thompson's gazelles. It looks like we're just in time. The one in the front, Arch, is showing the characteristic stalking fashion of a cheetah that's getting ready to move. Look at the arched back there, the shoulders. There's a herd of wildebeest and also some Thompson's gazelle. And in the beautiful plain like this, this is exactly where and what you want to be at when it comes to cheetah. And the timing is perfect. I'm trying to spot where those Tommies are. These cheetah would be able to take down a young wildebeest, possibly even an adult or two of them. Bearing in mind they are the fastest land mammal, they still have to get pretty close if they want to have any benefit of the charge. Well, they are spotting. They seem to be selecting animals from the herd that are absolutely unsuspecting. There are some Thompson's gazelle in the distance, but they're not looking at them. Back in the in the background there's a couple Tommies. Okay, this guy's going to be parked right behind me. That's very, very nice of you. Okay, the cheetah are down. They're on the ground, Arch. Looking. They're going to try and pick out something. See, Archie can't even see them anymore. That's how well camouflaged they are. Right in the middle of frame, Archie. There we go. Look at that, folks. That's the one. See how well they blend into almost no grass. There's two of them doing the same. They're going to try and figure out what is it that is more suitable for them. Good afternoon and welcome to the Mara Triangle in Kenya. We are with two male cheetah who we possibly believe to be the border boys. Quickly, before the action unfolds, my name is Steve. I'm joined on camera by Archie. It is beautiful out here. We've just come with them. Let's jump back onto the cheetah. Feel free to throw down questions or comments in the feed below. Let us know what you're thinking. These two cheetah males were lying up on a termite mound a moment ago. Oh, where they gone, Arch? There we go. A moment ago, they were flat. We've come a long distance to find them. They waited for us. They knew that we wanted to film them doing whatever they're doing. And there's a herd of wildebeest up in front of them. There's two boys. I think that was the second one. Hey, Archie, where's the first one gone? There's the herd of wildebeest. Two cheetah flat in the grass. They're going to try and find an individual in the herd that's suitable for them. They do like sort of medium-sized prey. An adult wildebeest is not really regarded as prey for cheetah, but there are two males here. They are quite strong. In the far distance, there are some Thompson's gazelle, which are a little bit more down their sort of line of food, but there are lots of young, six or so month old wildebeest that are around. And cheetah being patient, going to pick out something that is perfect for them. Being the fastest land mammal, they do still need to get close as they possibly can before launching an attack. But at the moment, all they can really see is a line of adult wildebeest. Mina, the cheetah often can be solitary. When you find a female, she's often on her own with her cubs. But often you'll get males will form coalitions like this, 3, 4, 5 of them, which means they can take down much larger prey together. But you can often find males on their own as well, but they do tend to try and band together for the benefit of themselves. You can see the wildebeest herd is completely unsuspecting. They are slowly moving towards the cheetah, but you see most of those in the front are adults. They would try and pick out one of the less, sort of the more chocolate-coloured youngsters if they wanted to. But if you look at the wildebeest, the heads, both the male and female, have got some horns and are very good at protecting their youngsters. So it is quite a gamble for a cheetah to try and attack a wildebeest. There's nothing to stop the adult from from raining down the horns on the cheetah, who are by their nature quite weak in comparison to other cats, given up a lot of their strength and weight to limit their weight for speed. You can't see it, but in the middle of the picture, far back, there's a couple of Thompson's gazelle at the back there. Adrian, I think they are the border boys. We haven't had a really good look at their face yet. It's two boys. Archie reckons it could be them. We're going to try and get some photos, some close-ups of them. I was trying to update myself and do a bit of reading as we found them, but then they got all active and up and mobile, and so, well, there we go. I wonder if anyone can help us with the identification of them. It is quite tricky. I've only seen one cheetah this week. It was a female. Quite tricky to get the patterns down. But we've got lots of viewers out there that have got very, very good digital records and archives of these individuals and like to help us out from time to time. So please, if you do know, but it's possibly the border boys. It's two boys. I don't know who else it could be at the moment. They are adult males. And what are they going to do? This could go either way, folks. You see the Thompson's gazelle moving in the background. That'd be much easier prey for them. Mash, they would indeed try and get one isolated, try and see one that's just a little bit off from the herd. But as you can see there, they're all in a nice phalanx, a wall of horns. And it's not easy to move through that. And the youngsters, as you can tell, we can't even see a youngster in amongst them. They're all kind of hidden behind the adults. Have a look there. There's one or two sort of in the background, but they're not easily seen. And, well, as soon as the cheetah make a go for it, the entire herd will move as one, making it even harder to isolate one. That's how wildebeest strategy works. By staying together and moving as one unit, youngsters sort of melting in with adults. But the wildebeest at the moment are completely unsuspecting. This is the patience game. Rachel, well, that's exactly what happened with us. We saw the one. It was flat on top of a termite mound, so it was quite obvious. But I was scanning absolutely everywhere, and I couldn't find the other one until it got up and went and joined his brother. There we go. Archie's doing great work zooming in on them for you. He's having a bit of a nap. It's hard work being a cheetah. And the wildebeest are coming ever closer there. Who are they going to pick? This is very exciting. I've only ever seen 2 cheetah hunts in my life, and it was against Impala. They were not successful. It was an adult with her 2 youngsters about the same sort of size as her, and it just boggles the mind at the speed that they can move from one side to the other. You can't really, it's very, very difficult to focus on. But thankfully, we got Archie. He's a pro. If anything goes down, he'll be onto it like a flash. But this could happen in a moment. It could also not happen. All really depends on what's going through the cheetah's mind. Risk analysis. Mina, I've never heard of a cheetah dying of a heart attack, or you think about the prey that they're chasing. It's possible. It's possible. The shock. But these animals are, I don't think the heart attack could happen immediately. The kind of stress that they could go under by being chased would eventually, after a period of time, lead to really big stress. You do get that in game capture when animals are chased and stressed by game capture helicopters or by people without the right tranquilizers. They can actually 2 or 3 days later they can die. So I've never seen it happen on the spot, but it can definitely happen a few days later. The build up and maybe a clog in an artery. But let's not take our eyes off of these. Where I can't even. Oh, there they are. Can't even see them with the naked eye. So, what are they going to go for, folks? Are they going to go for an adult? Are they going to go for a youngster? Or are they going to elude them all together and go for one of the Thompson's gazelle at the background? I didn't get that name. Sorry, Lou. I seem to have lost interest now. Julio, you want to know if the wildebeest could smell the cheetah? Most certainly they could if the wind was in their favor. There's almost no I'm going to do the finger test now. Well, the wind is coming slightly towards us from the cheetah. So the cheetah actually got, see if the finger test, you lick your finger and you stick it up, and the wind is gently coming along this way. That works quite nicely. And so the wind is actually coming from the wildebeest sort of across towards the cheetah. So looking at the behavior of the wildebeest, they have no idea. But also, generally, wildebeest don't really panic too much for cheetah in the long grass. As a phalanx, as a large unit like that, wildebeest are not their primary food source. They generally go for much smaller prey. Of course, the youngsters are vulnerable, but you see how the unit is moving. They're all kind of nestled in there, protected. The wind is now picked up, coming even stronger towards us. The one brother is completely uninterested. Another brother to the right, well, he's still trying to peel an individual with his eyes out of the group. And it could go down like an absolute flash. He could suddenly see what he wanted, and that is the search image and the locking on that these animals do. They pick out an individual that they want, and they lock onto that, and then they go for it. And that's where the dazzle of zebra herds and the movements of these large herds can confuse the predator's movement and prevent them from catching those youngsters. Well, I think for the moment we're not going to be getting too much action. It could explode at any second, I do not know, but for now I think we will end this short broadcast. And if you would like to continue watching, we are still live. Just Google us we'll be on YouTube, SafariLive. We're still live for another hour and a half or so. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for your questions and your feedback, and we'll see you next time. Okay, well, welcome back, everybody. I wonder what's going to happen. There's a youngster suddenly in the middle to the right of the screen. He's not looking at it, though. Well, the cheetah's body is starting to tense up a little bit. I think it's maybe they're just interested, really. They're looking at the horns. They're like summing up the risk involved here. Is it worth charging in there? Thompson's gazelle would be a much easier sort of, or maybe not an easier catch because they're so fast. But this is a time of plenty for all the animals out here. And also wildebeest is quite a big animal. If they do bring it down, will they be able to hold on to that? He doesn't care at all, does he? He's not hungry, seemingly. Okay, well, we're going to stay here with these guys and see what they get up to. And as soon as any action unfolds, you'll come right back to us. But in the meantime, let's go back down to Jamie, who is loving it back in the Lowveld.
Loving it in the Lowveld indeed, loving it in the Lowveld with our lovely leopard. Ha, there we go. I saw your link, Steve, and I raised you 2 alliterative words. So, Tundi is up, and while the cheetah may have given up for now, I have no doubt that they will continue their hunting efforts. There's something that has been attracting her attention back towards the termite mound behind her, and she's abandoned what's left of her dacre, and she's lying down. Never mind. I was going to say that I thought maybe, just maybe, Clalumba might be around. But I would be surprised if she'd allowed her mom to feed completely unbothered by her boisterous attentions. Especially given that apparently Tundi was quite hungry this morning. I wouldn't be surprised. Lou has suggested that it might be Tundi's annoying little brother that is causing her disruption. And as we well know, or as you will well have experienced, I haven't yet, Hosana likes to come and steal from his sister. Quick, over to Steve.
Sorry, folks, you're back with us. This cheetah is suddenly getting very interested. The herd is split up slightly. Look at that tail. Suddenly spotted a few youngsters in amongst the ranks there. Have a look at how low down to the ground it's able to move. This is sensational stuff. It's Going to get as close as it can. The wildebeest still have no idea. Send through a one-word tweet if you will, folks. What does this do? How does this make you feel? Here it goes. Here we go. Ready? And the chase is on. Look at that speed. Who's it selected? Where's it gone? Has the second cheetah come in? I think the chase is off. There we go. It's on the right-hand side of the screen there. I think they overshot that one a little bit. Wow, that was awesome. Just to see the movement. The wildebeest have well and truly spread out. There wasn't too much in that, was there, Archie? Come on, boys. I expected better of you there. The confusion that happened there, even the camera lost sight of where the cheetah was going, because that's what happens. The animals move left and right, and they sort of cut each other off, and then all of a sudden it's very hard to see what's going on. Oh, there's a family of warthogs running in the background there. They've realized they better get out of Dodge real quickly. And these two boys are going to come back together. That was a very anticlimactic sort of event. The wildebeest are going to come and say, "Oi, what are you doing here?" And chase them away. And they just suddenly realize they're not lying. Debbie, cheetahs move through the landscape, quite broad landscapes, and they defend territories against other cheetah, but they seem to, the boundaries seem to be quite fluid. They often climb up trees, defecate or urinate in trees to sort of demarcate those areas. There we go, they just got a little bit of a fright again. The cheetah's still throwing down his might. And, oh, here we go. Are they going to go? The confusion of the herd is making it very difficult for the cheetah to pick out one individual. You can't even find where the brother's gone. You see how that unit can really confuse these animals. Bearing in mind, cheetahs see probably as well as lions do. In the daytime, maybe even better to see sort of this black and white image. So when you have all these black and white animals moving apart and through and across each other, it's very hard to keep your eyes focused on that one individual. If you've ever tried to hit a baseball before, if someone threw 10 at you at once, it would be very hard to hit one. You can't focus on one because there's so much other movement, if that makes any sense. And that's kind of the confusion strategy that goes on with being in a herd. And you can see they're not scared to come and face them down. The wildebeest will move forward with their horns and not scared as long as they're together. Well, we're going to move around and see if we can get a bit closer to these guys and try and finally get an identification. So yeah, they do move through the landscape. There's no sort of set area that they'll stay in, but they move in also response to prey. They like these vast open spaces where they're not going to get caught out by lion. The lion really will hammer cheetah if they can, and hyena steal their food. So I mean, yeah, that could have happened. They could have been chasing the herd to see if someone would have tripped a little bit or stumbled. You see they're all bunching up over there, the wildebeest. Very characteristic sort of movement of animals that are defensive or are being hunted. So it's possible they were testing, possible they were looking for someone who was a bit injured. They didn't. Okay, they're still running. Let's have a look. Let's move up here, try and get in a better position. I can't see them. Can you, Arch? And just have a look where the throng of animals are. And, well, you're going to assume that the cheetah are there somewhere. See how they're bunched together? And they're all coming in. Yeah, I got my friends. Looks like a typical Friday night in Johannesburg. All the boys coming together to fight the other boys. I'm only joking. Not a typical night. Just every other night. Every other Friday. In Benoni, if you've been to Benoni. Okay, so I've only got... There we go. They're both moving there. Very, very nonchalant through the herd. And the surprise is up. Okay, well, very good. Well, we're going to see if we can stay with these boys as long as we possibly can. Meantime, let's go back over to Brent and see what he's up to.
Well, unfortunately, we've given up on those lion tracks. They looked like they were heading into an area of Torchwood where you don't have any signal yet, unfortunately. So I've decided I'm going to throw my dice at Horsana. Well, Jamie had some very fresh male leopard tracks right at the beginning of drive near Zoe's Road, so that's probably him. So go have a look on Zoe's Road and do a little bumble down in the western side of the reserve where we haven't been to yet today. But it's quite interesting now. I know Steve's with the Border Boys, who I've spent a lot of time with, and when you think about the distances we traveled in the Mara, now I've been quite far for a Djuma game drive. I went into Torchwood and probably done round trip with all the loopity-loops and whatnot, maybe about 8 kilometers, maybe. And Steve, just to get to an area where he's got a chance of seeing the Border Boys, has done about 40. So it's interesting. You definitely travel much bigger distances in the Mara. Yeah, so Jamie said last tracks we're heading towards the Balanites tree, so that's where I'm going to head. Who knows, maybe it's the hook. Although I hear the Hukamori hasn't been around so much these days. He was all over the place when I was last year. Apparently he did chase Horsana about a week ago. At the same stage, I was chasing rock monitors out of my kitchen closet, relocating them. And then this morning, we relocated Oliver, a bark scorpion. We've had quite good game viewing around our little house. Last night we had impala, waterbuck, and duiker. The warthogs have been there every day, and the bush babies every night, and the barred owlets have been hanging about, and of course squirrels and dwarf mongoose. We went for a sundowner on Sunday night with friends of ours, and while sitting on the reserve we live on, we had 2 different leopards calling. So unfortunately I didn't have a spotlight with me, otherwise I would have been out there. But yeah, hopefully we can find some of the leopards of Hoedspruit at some point as well. So apparently, since I'm good at relocations, Louise would like to know if I can remove a what? I didn't hear. You talking about Europlectes? Olivaceous or viva? What's the viva one? Viva. The vivititis or vivitatus or yes. Apparently Louise has one of those in her bathroom. No, Louise, if you want to remove scorpions from your bathroom, you need to man up and do it yourself. Because I'm quite sure that's why Tristan and Taylor haven't done it either, to torture you. I'm quite sure that the rest of the guides haven't removed it. So you need to learn how to do things for yourself, Louise. You can't be running to us for help all the time. Now, the Olivaceous, which is the one we caught this morning, is an 8 out of 10 on the human pain scale. Whereas the viva, I can't remember one. It's an impala. You see it there, Darby? Through the thickets. Wait, where are you? Yes, it's a little bit to the left. About centre frame. A little bit up. There we go, you see it? There's an impala through the thickets. Just wondered what it was sitting there staring at us. Now, the viva one that Louise seems to be so scared of is only like a 2 out of 10 on the human pain scale. So if it stings you, you'll survive, Louise. Louise says it likes living in her towel. Well, then I think you should definitely remove it soon, Louise. Okay, back to Jamie and Thandi.
Don't worry, Lou. I'll come and get rid of the scorpion from your bathroom for you with the greatest of pleasure. I think Brent is just secretly slightly afraid. I suppose not even I could try and make that fly, because we know he caught a scorpion this morning. Well, actually, technically, Liam did. So our lovely Thandi could not look more contented if she tried. She was up a moment ago, beautifully backlit by the sunlight, and just sort of sitting, panting. Apparently, as I said, she was quite hungry this morning, so I think that this has come as a truly pleasant turn of affairs for her luck with catching this little daker. And she now looks content to spend at least some time sleeping off a full belly. But patience always pays off in the wilderness, and I'm going to be patient today. You see, she's listening to something. She's heard something, and I'm not going anywhere, because I would not object to Hosanna coming to find his big sister by any means. I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing him as well, and seeing how much he's grown. When I left him, he was, how old was he? 14 months, 15 months old? He was still a baby. Now he's getting big and bold, and quite scary. Well, maybe not scary. It's difficult to imagine Hosanna as scary. So I'm hoping he is, for my sake. I'm hoping he comes trundling along with Hlalamba, and maybe we'll just throw Tingana into the mix as well, just to complete the family reunion. I'd be quite happy with that. Doubt that's going to happen, but never say never on Djuma, is what I've learnt from hearing about the sightings of the other guides out here. Hey girl, you won't be nearly as happy as I will be to see Hosanna. For those who don't know what on earth I'm talking about, perhaps this is your first live safari. Well, Thandi's younger brother, and she's probably about, 10 years older than him? 9 years older than him. So they both came from the same mother, Karula, but he came a long time after Thandi. So he is much, much younger than her. He's actually only just over 2 years old, or about 2.5 years old now. And he is a thorn in his sister's side. He comes and steals kills from her, and she goes and steals kills from him. And we have to enjoy those moments spent with Hosanna, because at some point, presumably, he is actually going to move off and disperse as a normal male leopard should. At some point, I imagine Tingana's patience might run out. Oh, Dusty. Lou seems doubtful about whether or not Tingana will decide to kick his little boy out. Tingana's the big dominant male leopard around here. Lou seems to think that since Hosanna seems to provide meals for him, it would be an unwise decision on his part. I have to say, I agree. But who knows? We've got absolutely no idea how these dynamics will play out. You never know. Hosanna might just stick around. Andy, you would like to know how old Thandi is now. She is 12 years old, I believe. Was her birthday in November? Now I'm trying to remember. I can't remember if she was born in October, November, or December. I know it was towards the end of the year. I think her birthday was in November. Don't think I'm wrong about that. Oh, she is looking in that direction. There's something there. It could be another small antelope. I mean, given that we know that Thandi's killed 3 male impala in the past in one sitting, it would not be unheard of for her to go for another animal. And these animals are very opportunistic, so she might be full. Does wander in, then she will absolutely go for it. I don't think that's what it is, though. I don't know. Excuse me. Come on, girl. Please bring your little girl out for me. I would really like to see her, even if she's not so little anymore. Hayley, I have absolutely no idea. So Hayley wants to know if Thandi might get confused with Hosana scent marking everywhere. It comes down to really, do leopards know if they're related to each other when they're separated by such a massive generational gap? The answer to that, I think, is yes, but the truth is we don't know. I think there is a degree of familial recognition. I don't think she'll become confused. I think there's a chance she'll start treating him as a dominant male leopard. There's a combination of physical and actually psychological factors that govern the way that animals treat each other. And by scent marking and acting with a sort of a dominant approach to things, Hosana's entire demeanor will change, and Thandi will pick that up and recognize it and treat him accordingly. So it doesn't necessarily, physical maturity or the maturity of a leopard doesn't depend on their physical maturity alone. There is some sort of emotional transition that happens that all of a sudden turns them towards displaying dominant behavior. Of course, it's connected to their physical behavior, or their physical development, but it's not entirely. Something changes in their body language, and I think that you'll find that if Hosana starts to behave in a more dominant way and a slightly less dopey way, particularly if he challenges Tingana, I think that Thandi will treat him with a bit more reticence and possibly even just avoid him while she can, because of course her young cub is still not quite at the stage where she'd be out of the woods in terms of safety from intruding males. There is also the possibility, it's one of those realities of the animal kingdom, that if Hosana was dominant enough and around enough, Thandi would quite happily mate with him if he was ready for that. It's one of those things that is just a reality of the big cats. Speaking of realities for the big cats, it's a tough life out there in the Masai Mara, and unfortunately for the cheetah, multiple attempts at catching themselves a dinner end up being inevitable.
Well, we're trying to find them. We had a little negotiation with the warden who was parked on the seat about following them off the road here, and he said he doesn't recommend it, but he'll follow us to make sure everything's fine from a sensitivity point of view. Now we can't find them. They're in there somewhere amongst these wildebeest. Cheetah are somewhere. We can't find them. We just get a little bit closer in. We're being watched, so I'm being very sensitive. I'm always sensitive though with these sort of things. These wide open spaces makes it quite easy to be able to follow them with the camera from a distance, but while we were chatting we had our back turned, so probably moved off a bit further than we initially anticipated. And remember how camouflaged they were from very close up. Now we've done this a few times. We've moved a few hundred meters at a time, stopped and scanned the landscape. Wow, very good, James Richard. Thank you, sir. Apparently James Richard says this is a new coalition of boys in the area. They are not the border boys. Well, that is awesome. I'm glad we could bring them to your screen. Even more so, more reason that they could have just moved into the territory of others without any hassle, because there's lots of game around. There's Thompson. There's only a few Tommies around. Lots of wildebeest, but a few vultures on the ground. I'm just having a scan. Archie's also going to scan. The wildebeest are all spread out now. They're all starting to relax again in certain places. But I think they're over there, because that's where all the wildebeest are looking. But I'm trying not to get too close. Can't see anything. The plain, there's just thousands of them. It'd be hard not to chase them. If I was a cheetah, I'd just be running at everything I saw. Well, nothing yet. A little bit further up, here we go. Incredible how animal can just disappear on this open landscape. Really, really mind-boggling. Seanak, I really don't know. I mean, cheetah territories, like other predator territories, are dependent or determined on food resource. And up here in the Mara, well, the food is plentiful this time of year anyway, so you could probably find a lot of overlap this time of year due to the migration and the abundance of food. So the territories wouldn't be as well demarcated, but as soon as the food started becoming a little bit more scarce, then you'd see much more demarcation and sort of territorial behavior happening. But it's fantastic to be up here with the cheetah in this landscape. I mean, down in South Africa, there's not many of them due to the change in habitat, even though the food, the abundance of food that cheetah like is all over the place, but it's the high concentration of hyena and lion that keep their numbers restricted. But I honestly don't know, Seanak, the size of territories of cheetah. I'm pretty sure Brent and Jamie, who've been up here for a lot longer than I have, would have a sort of a scope on that. But I regret to inform you all that we cannot find them. That is a pity. That is a pity. Are we still being followed there? We still have someone behind us. Don't think they can see the cheetah either. But the animals were all over here before, and they've all scattered. Joshua, it is an absolute minefield of dead animals everywhere you look. Everywhere you look. Oh, here we go. Here's a little two-track. This will make life easier. Follow this for a little bit. This time of year, lots of animals are dying, but it doesn't seem to be denting the population whatsoever. There's so many animals around. So just one little wildebeest. One little wildebeest for these cheetah. Wouldn't that be wonderful? It's getting to that time of day when we're going to have to leave them anyway because of the darkness. But anyway, someone who's with her favourite leopard and can view her after dark, Jamie Patterson.
I'm so excited. I cannot wait to spend the rest of the afternoon with the gorgeous Tundi. I should explain at this juncture that I've thought about about going to search for the hyena den, and I've decided that I'm going to delay that for tomorrow morning. That's what we will go and do tomorrow morning, because I think it's going to be more productive in terms of searching. Plus, I don't know if Tundi's still going to be on Djuma by the time we wake up tomorrow morning for the sunrise safari. And I think this is my best chance of seeing Tlalamba at this point. Whereas the hyena den, if it's there, it's there. It'll be there tomorrow morning, hopefully. Fingers crossed. So we'll go search for the hyena den tomorrow morning, but we're going to stick with Tundi for now, probably for the rest of the evening. A nice, easy introduction for me. Means I don't have to concentrate on everything at any one point in time. We'll probably go around in a little bit, see if we can get a view of her face, but she'll just, you know what she'll do, she'll get up and move and face the other way as soon as we do. And while it's not the thickest area, there are quite a few bushes around. Cheetah territories, an interesting thing about the Mara and things that I learnt. Territories with cheetah are difficult. A female cheetah doesn't even really have a territory. They basically have a home range, and even then, I mean, the home range might be 4 times the size of a lion's territory, possibly even more. You're looking at around about 60,000 hectares. And from there, and I mean 60,000, to give you an idea of how big that is, Djuma is about 1,200 hectares. So a 60,000 hectare area is enormous. But even then, they might decide they actually don't like their home range anymore and go wandering off somewhere else. So it's hard to say that female cheetah really have territories. They very seldom fight with each other, which is, of course, the definition of a territory. It's a defended area, defended against other members of the same species, usually of the same sex, always of the same sex. Where with the male cheetah, they do have territories. They have very definite territories, but again, don't know if the size isn't dependent upon resources in a very similar way to the leopards of Djuma. So leopards in this area have quite a large territory because the prey density is smaller. It's simply because we're away from any of the larger rivers, the Sand River, for example, so there isn't the same prey concentration, and as a result, the leopard needs a bigger area to support itself and any offspring that it may have. Whereas if you get closer to the river, there's more prey and the competition is much, much stronger for territories, and as a result, territories are smaller. I wouldn't be surprised if the Mara works in a similar way. The musketeers, the 5 male cheetah, have such a strong show of force. I mean, there's no other coalition of male cheetah that can match them. There's 5 of them. It's simply not possible. But they have, to my mind, quite a small territory that they seem to defend. And I don't know if that's just resource-based. There's just enough food to keep them around there. Where the other males who aren't in such a strong position seem to roam further afield. And at that point, that's where I'm going to stop with numbers, because I couldn't actually give you an accurate count or an accurate number for how big a male cheetah territory is in the Mara. I think it's too variable. It'd be interesting to see if there's an average. Again, you're not comparing apples and apples. When you talk about leopards' territories, you're talking about individuals, so you can directly compare them to each other. But when you talk about cheetah territories, male coalition territories, you could be comparing a territory size of 2 animals versus a territory size of 5 animals or 3 animals. It's difficult to really compare. Tandy, are we sleeping now? I'm okay with that. I'm happy just to have seen you on my first drive back. She's having a me day, says Lou, away from her daughter, wherever she may be. Tandy, I really would love it if you would take me to Tlalamba. I really would. I mean, I know it's a lot to ask, because you did show up for my first drive back. And it does seem a little cheeky to ask that of you. I'm pretty sure I know which direction her daughter's in. I'm thinking that's why she keeps looking off that way. Even Tlalamba, how old is Tlalamba now? A year, nearly. Almost. She must be a year sometime in December, November, December. Oh, speaking of ages, I apologize. Yeah, Tlalamba must be about a year. I apologize. It is in December, Tandy's birthday. I couldn't quite remember. I thought it was November for some reason, but it is in December. So she'll turn 12 in December. Still full of beans. Even for, not the youngest leopard. Not the oldest, but not the youngest. The big cats perhaps don't enjoy the longest life expectancy out here in the wild. There is, however, an animal that lives for much, much longer than they do.
Well, it seems like I'm having an elephant afternoon. So unfortunately, those tracks we were following of that male leopard, I don't think they're Hosana. They're Hukomuri tracks. He's got that very distinct back track where he's got that injured foot, so there's a claw that sticks out, and he crossed into Arathusa. So we're just bumbling back towards where Hosana was last seen this morning. And on the way, we've encountered another wonderful herd of elephants. Always an absolute pleasure to spend time with these creatures. Look at that lovely backlighting. Hi guys. Jean is wondering if elephants lose their tusks, will they grow back? Yes and no. It depends on how deep they're broken. Even if they are broken deep and there is still some tusk attached to the root, they will grow, and they'll grow throughout their life. That's quite one of the wonderful things about being an elephant, I suppose, is that you do have Hi guys. You can see it looks like they're almost picking up and eating completely dry sticks. However, those trees will be very much alive and waiting for summer. They seem to be targeting grivia at the moment, which is wild raisin bushes. That's what they seem to be eating mostly. And you can barely tell that they're grivia apart from the shape that they're growing out of the ground, because there is almost no discernible features in terms of leaves or fruit. That one, however, is attacking a combretum. Marcy is wondering, what is the difference between the elephants here at Djuma and the Mara? Well, body size, the elephants here are on average, particularly the elephant bulls, bigger. So they tend to be higher at the shoulder. Not necessarily heavier, but definitely higher at the shoulder. The males in particular. Hello, you. But the main difference is when you look at their tusks. Look at the tusks of these Kruger Ellies. They're stained, they're well used. And look at that. Compared to the Mara Ellie tusks, that are these wonderful porcelain white, beautiful things. Oh, got an itchy ear. I'm going to scratch the ear on the terminalia. And also, you will find a lot more broken tusks there here in Kruger than you will in the Mara, because in the Mara, the majority of what the elephant is eating is, of course, grass, since there's a sea of grass, literally. Whereas here, during the dry season, they are forced to eat a lot more heavy or stronger wooded materials, such as trees and bushes. Hello, you. Having a good scratch. Look at that, having a wonderful scratch. Got an itch behind the ear. Gonna itch her way all the way behind David now. You can see right all around us. Now also, it's likely that the Mara elephants probably have a slightly longer life expectancy than a Kruger elephant, and that's to do with the wear on their teeth. Eating lovely, luscious green grass for the majority of the year is definitely going to be a less wear than eating these hard, woody, low-felt plants. Well, broad-leafed woodland is actually what we're in at the moment. Hi, Becky, who's sitting in final control. Well, aren't you lucky, Becky? Now, Becky is wondering, what do I think is an elephant's favorite food? Now, I think it probably depends on the individual elephant, and more particularly on the area. So, the forest elephants in Gabon, I would say their favorite food is grass when they can get it. But on average, elephant's favorite food is probably nice green grass. Lots of nutrients, lots of sugars, lots of starch, with very little effort to get. But of course, certain fruits will also be favorites in this part of the world. The marula fruit. Elephants in the Mara are quite partial to torchwood seeds, balanites seeds, which the elephants here don't eat as much of. I'd say a lot of that type of stuff is very much area specific rather than species specific. Forest elephants in Gabon, figs and Manalkara, milkberries are two of their favorites. Hello, little one. But you don't have to worry about eating anything too hard and chewy. As long as your mom gets enough, you're definitely still very much on mother's milk. And he's actually sniffing us. The wind is blowing directly from us to him. Is it a little him? Looked like a little him. Oh, and a little her, actually, I think. Oh, the big girl's snuck up behind us, Dave. Hello, big lady. are incredibly lucky to be able to spend the amount of time and the quality time we do spend with elephants. I could sit with elephants all day. Okay. Well, you can see her munching on that quite dry branch. In the meantime, Steve has got something that really, really doesn't like anything dry at all.
Thanks, Brent. Well, listen, the rain started falling, and thankfully we are parked, and it's falling straight down. You might hear the pitter-patter on the roof, but it's slowly abating. But here is another group of hyena, and we couldn't relocate on those cheetah. And ooh, a little bit of a greeting ceremony going on. Another adult hyena there with a collar and busy suckling. Don't think she's definitely not Waffles. I know Waffles. That youngster wants to get in on the suckling action. There's a good number of them around here. Very likely another proponent of the North Clan. We're not too far away from where the North Clan and the other den site is. And they rule these plains. No doubt if those cheetah had made a successful kill, there would have been some action from the North Clan charging in. Okay. Jamie says there are 3 collared members of the Happy Zebra clan. There's only one here with a very dark collar. I don't know exactly where the Happy Zebra clan would be. But we are not far. Where are we, Archie? We're not far from the North Clan. The North Clan den site, a couple kilometers to our right-hand side. Well, Happy Zebra is much further to the left, says Archie, much further south than where we are right now. So that's all we know for the moment. Happy to see some more hyena. There's definitely a den site here. And a little drainage culvert on the side of the road. That little youngster coming out from the side, from the culvert. Also some banks probably dug into as well. You've all been spending the day maybe trying to stay dry. Here comes the inquisitive one. Are you going to come and say hello? There we go. That's the road that we're on. A very interesting walk of the hyena. Sorry about the little tip of the car there. This youngster's going to... Oh, we got a bit of a fright. Sorry, little one. Don't forget to pop your questions and comments on the chat stream at FC. And also hashtag SafariLive. Hello, are you going to come right up to us, are you? What do we smell like? It is, here I am. Hello. Right here. It's looking a bit dark. The light is fading, the sun is set. We'll be switching to the infrared camera very soon. Infrared light just over the bonnet of the car. Let's count them. How many have we seen? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. At least 12 so far. Lots of little youngsters. Ooh, that's my blade of grass. I'm going to attack the blade of grass. Down it goes to join the others. There's a car going to pass us shortly. There we go. That's some better light there, Archie. I'm not sure if you can hear the rain, but the hyenas are just hunkering down, trying to keep their bellies dry. Might have found a dry patch and, well, just like dogs in the wet, you've got to get wet. You don't want the whole body to get. Well, the rain is just pitter-pattering. It was coming down quite heavily before you came to us. You see quite a bit of it in the distance. Hopefully it doesn't become too much more. And we're going to have to box ourselves in again. Get all claustrophobic. There we go. That's what a hyena looks like in the rain. Very unimpressed. Very unimpressed. Why don't you guys get up and go catch yourself a wildebeest? There are thousands of them on the right and on the left. Really, just have to take your pick. Yes, in that direction, ma'am. Going to finish suckling her youngsters first. Bearing in mind they do look quite old, those youngsters, but a hyena can suckle up to a year due to the amount of bone in their diet. Rosalind, that's a really good question. Most youngsters, well, every mammal gets milk teeth quite early on, which are very small, and then I would guess after about 6 months or so, I'm not 100% sure, 6 months or so they start losing their milk teeth and getting replaced by adult teeth, probably up to about a year in the case of hyena, and then by the time they're a year and up above, they've probably got their very strong, the strongest teeth in the mammal kingdom, in fact, because they need to tear through bone and sinew. Crocodiles have also got very strong teeth, but they're able to replace them. Hyena keep the same set of teeth, and apparently can get up to 58. I read that online. I'm not 100% sure if I agree with 58 teeth. That's a lot of teeth. That is a lot of teeth. Cats get 30-odd teeth. Lou says that hyena are born with teeth. Interesting. I wasn't aware of that, Lou. I believe that every mammal is born with, they grow milk teeth and then lose their teeth. All mammals do go through 2 sets of teeth. Maybe hyena are the exception to the rule. I am not 100% sure. Some research required, it seems. But anyway, Jamie Patterson has agreed with Louise. I will nod my hat, ladies. You obviously do know. I would like to spend more time with these individuals and find out exactly. I mean, can you imagine from an early age being born with those gnashes? Quite frightening, in fact. Anyway, we're going to keep moving on down the road. The zebra and wildebeest are in their millions. Well, not millions, and we're hoping we might come across a pride of lion. In the direction we headed, it is the direction that the sausage tree pride was last seen. Who knows? We could be lucky. We could be lucky. Okay, well, see you later, hyenas. And we're going to go all the way back to South Africa with Brent Leo Smith, who is enjoying an afternoon with elephants.
We are just having the most amazing time at the moment. These elephants are about 3 or 4 meters away from us, completely dissecting a little combretum. They are so close to us. This is really, really special. Now, for those of you who might not know it, this is 100% live. And I'm sitting right next to these wonderful creatures. This little one is having the best time with that. Chewing at the stick, I suppose. And she's actually just taking the outer layer of bark, the cambium layer of bark, a section that transports the nutrients from the roots up to the rest of the tree. Well, we say rest of the tree. There ain't much tree left after these two are going to be done with it. Now, a lot of people get very confused and they call this elephant damage. It is not at all damage. It is elephant feeding, and it is, oh, there we go, there goes the last of the tree. Oh, nearly. And it is very, very important in terms of the greater health of the ecosystem. So if there was too many trees, the grass wouldn't have a patch to grow, and also they're providing the termites with food, which they'll turn back into nutrients. So it's actually a very, very important part of the ecosystem. The elephants destructive. It's not destructive. The elephant's feeding, but it is not destructive at all, and is very important and a natural part of the ecosystem. A lot of people who have bought farms and houses or whatnot in wildlife areas get very confused about that fact, and they start going, oh, the elephants are doing so much damage. No, they're not. You building your house has done far more. So keep quiet and let the elephants do their thing. So a big mistake that's happened, especially in areas where elephants have been removed for a long time and then they are reintroduced, is that same story I'm talking about, this elephant damage sort of idea. So they go, oof, we mustn't put any elephants back here. We must let the bush recover. And what they do is let the bush recover so badly they actually damage it. So not invasive species, invaders or primary species, areas that colonize, trees that colonize, like sicklebush, Dicrostachys, black monkey orange, green monkey orange, will absolutely completely cover an area. And what happens then is that your grass actually cannot grow. It's not getting any of the water, it's not getting any sunlight, because the trees are completely blocking it all. And the big problem with that is most animals actually prefer to eat grass. So by not having enough animals to eat the trees, so to speak, you actually completely bring down the carrying capacity of your land. When I talk about carrying capacity, that is the amount of animals you can have on the property or on a specific piece of land, with them all sort of being in balance. So without elephants breaking down trees and pushing down trees and removing bushes, etc., 3 little bums in a row, you actually lessen your carrying capacity as the grass starts to suffer, as it's completely encroached by sicklebush and green monkey orange and even terminalia in certain areas. So it's an interesting thing that where people think they're actually doing good for the bush, and all they're doing is actually causing bigger problems. Hi, Joshua. Joshua would like to know if I've got any tips for viewing elephants in the Kruger National Park and how to avoid being trampled. Well, reading elephant body language takes a long time, but there are some nice, easy pointers. And for me, one of the most important things on an elephant is their tail. So if you start seeing a slightly stiff tail or erect tail, it means that animal's uncomfortable. You watch their body language, the same as you can see with a dog or a horse. You can see when they're upset, you can see when they're angry. And if you start picking up some of those things, Joshua, rather stay back. And if you're unsure, until you're confident you can read elephant behavior nicely and well, stay distance. You don't need to be 4 meters from an elephant if you're not sure what you're doing. Oh, little one's lying down. He's having a nap. He's tired. He just collapsed under mom. But so, if you're not sure, rather stay 50, 60 meters away. But elephants will tell you with their body language whether they are elephants you should approach or elephants you shouldn't. And also, like what I've done here is I actually didn't drive this close to the elephants. I drove, I stopped, I parked, and the elephants actually came this close to me. So they chose to come into my space and not the other way around. Also, watch for them lifting their head. Ears can be quite tricky because sometimes they can just be playing rather than being serious. But also, if the ears are out, and they could be being a little bit more serious. Where are you off to, Impala? There's Impala dashing past them. There we go. Chum, chum. Are you just running for the joy of the afternoon, or did you spot a leopard? I think they're just running for the joy of the afternoon. But see how those elephants, well, especially the little one, reacted. Ears out, listening carefully. The fact that I don't think there's a predator too close behind them, apart from maybe they're running from dogs, which means they could be running from very far, is judging by the elephant's behavior to the impala dashing past. Okay, well, we're going to leave our lovely herd of elephants and head down towards where Hasana was last seen. Maybe he's going to be stretching his way towards the Djuma Pan. In the meantime, let's go see Thandi.
I had a discussion with Brent on our way to work this afternoon, in the middle of the day, about where we would go and what we would do. And there was a definite agreement that if Hasana popped his head up, Brent would really like to see him, and that I would really like to see Thandi. Well, I've got my wish, so I hope that Brent gets his as well. His conversation, Thandi. Okay, fine, fair enough. I'm not going to go all the way around so we can see her face, because she'll just roll over again. The conversation that Brent was having about body language applies equally to the different animals that we see out here. Look how she's listening to me while I'm talking. Can see both ears turned back towards me. And now relaxing again, turning around to listen. Still often looking off in a sort of westerly direction where she's been looking all afternoon, where I'm hoping there's another leopard. I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out. But the body language conversation does carry over. Now, Thandi is renowned as being quite a snarly leopard. Some leopards are very, very comfortable with vehicles in their personal space. Some leopards are not. And Thandi is one of those. Now, her particular thing is noise. Hold on, Craig. Craig, stop me talking because we can hear a lion. Almost sounded like in the direction of where Brent was talking about the the 3 male lions. Quite far. I'm going to sit here and listen. I'll sit here and listen for the next one. And we'll finish our chat about Thandi. She didn't even bother to look up. So they're not anywhere close to her. But there was definitely a lion roaring. Right, what were we talking about? By the way, I don't think that lion's on our property, but I might be wrong. I might take myself home in that direction. We're talking about Thandi and her particular irritation. She doesn't like noise. Thandi doesn't like loud voices. She doesn't like lots of vehicles making a noise around her, and I think we can all understand that. I mean, this is her space, and we are in it. Now, she's perfectly comfortable with us here, but she has been known to give the odd vehicle a little bit of a talking to in leopard terms, which basically means she snarls and comes charging out at them. She's still looking that way, still looking west. She couldn't care less about the lion roars to the east. But a thrashing tail and ears back, and obviously most of us will know this, most of you familiar with animals, if something snarls at you, if it lifts its lip up and shows you its teeth, it's not happy. Those are relatively obvious signs, no matter who you happen to be. As Brent said, it might take some time to learn the nuances of elephant body language, but some signs are very clear. Noriko, that's actually such a good comparison. Noriko says that Thandi would make a great librarian. I have known some truly terrifying librarians in my time, possibly even more terrifying than an angry Thandi in their defense of the silence of their libraries. So I think that's a perfect comparison. In fact, I can just see her with a pair of horn-rimmed glasses and a stern look. She's very good at the stern look, is our Thandi. When she's looking at us, of course. She's never charged me. She's never snarled at me. But I think that's also largely due to the rarity of my encounters with her. I haven't spent all that much time with her. The very first time I saw her was when she was in Karula's territory mating with Tingana. And I think that would have been when, it would have been before Tlalamba was created. I think that would have been the conception of Tamba. That was the first time I saw her. I thought she was her sister Shadow. They look so similar. Tracy, you want to know why Tlalamba is not with Tundi? To be fair, we don't actually know that. I mean, it's one of those funny things with leopards of a certain age. You might assume that they're not here, and she could be watching us this entire time, off playing on her own. We don't actually know with 100% certainty that she's not here. I don't think she is. I think she would have come and irritated Mom for food. She's a teenager. She's hungry all the time, and she would have wanted to share that meal, which is why I think Tundi hasn't called her, because I think she was starving. Tlalamba's just at that age. She's becoming more and more independent. It's not uncommon for female leopards to leave their cubs, even at a very young age, for up to 2 or 3 days at a time when they're out searching for food. So leopard cubs in the beginning stages, when they are very young, are very good at instinctively staying put and hidden wherever their mum has put them. And then she'll come back and collect them and take them to a kill once they're ready. As they get a little bit older, and you'll see it sooner with female offspring as opposed to male offspring, but there'll be a push for independence. And basically what they'll do is they'll spend more and more time away from mum. And we notice that I find there's a far more... I always feel there's a slight edge to mother-daughter leopard relationships. I could be wrong. It's just my interpretation of things. It's not that they don't love their daughters any less than they love their sons. They do, and they're often affectionate to them. But sometimes I think there's just a slight edge to their interactions. They're more likely, in my experience, to snarl at each other from a younger age. I think that's just the independence of the females. And they tend to leave their mothers sooner than the males do as well. They break that bond and they go off in search of their own space quite a lot earlier, often 6 months before their male siblings. Shame. In the case of poor little Shongile, she didn't have a choice. Okay, as I said, we're going to be patient with Tundi, even if she's flat for the moment. Let's go and join Steve with apparently an interesting windscreen wiper.
They had to come back. We are driving very slowly through the rain, and I feel like I'm 18 again in my friend's car where the windscreen wipers didn't work and we had to use it manually outside the window. I've got a beautiful windscreen thingy-majob here, which is it works very well. We just can't drive very fast. Not that we would anyway. We're trying to scan away. The rain hits us quite hard and quite quickly, so we've covered up. You'll probably hear a little bit of an echo. We are battened down. The rain seems to have alleviated a little bit, but there's an enormous cloud up ahead of us here, and I think we're going to get hit again in a second. Lou just had to come and show you how ridiculous this looks. It's what it is. It's what it is. Magic Dragon Wizard, we've all done it before. What I've done before, which works quite well, and I'm actually going to do it tonight or tomorrow. You cut a potato and you wipe the potato on the window, because I once had a car that the windscreen wipers didn't work. You couldn't even manually move them. Putting a potato on there actually disperses or displaces the moisture as it hits the window. It sort of spreads. You've got a huge herd of wildebeest crossing the road in front of us. Enormous herd. They're moving because of the rain as well. Can't see them, I'm afraid, folks. Sorry about the views I'm offering you here, but oh, lion chasing the wildebeest. Holy whack. Arch, can you open the side there? Folks, a lion just chased the wildebeest across the road. Will we get a visual? I don't know. Archie, can you see anything? That just happened right in front of my face. Whew. wildebeest are going absolutely nuts. I can't see anything. Sorry about the shine, the glare. It is raining. Just going to drive slowly up, see if maybe Archie can get it. He's looking through a little side window that is opened. See if we can maybe get a lion. It looks like a Blair Witch Project. The lion ran out right in front of us, right on the tail of these wildebeest. If it wasn't for my amazing windscreen wiping abilities, I wouldn't have seen it. Wow, that was awesome. Very hard to see though, folks, I'm afraid. That was an enormous herd of wildebeest, and I thought maybe they were moving just because of the rain. Well, there was a lion hot on their trails. Well, the grass is quite long and quite difficult to see. Can't see any more lions. Nothing else seems to have crossed the road. Don't know if they caught one, if it caught one. If it did, it could be very hard to see in this long grass. I think we've gone past that spot. Wow, well anyway, we're going to carry on and hopefully not get too wet. In the meantime, let's go back down to Brent, who's looking for the little sheaf.
We've found something that the little chief is quite fond of chasing. And definitely one of my favourite little critters that we see out here. And of course, with this dry time of the year, they're a lot more visible. Little scrub hare. There's actually a pair of them. The one just to the right. Oh, beautiful, Davy, beautiful. Look how big its eyes are for that nocturnal vision. Let's just have a look at this one's eating. And you see the other one. What was it eating? I was wondering if it almost looked like it was eating feces. Now, of course, most of you who've been watching for a long time will know that scrub hares will eat their own feces up to 7 times to get all the nutrients out of it. And especially at this time of the year when there isn't a lot of nutrients, it looked like, see, look, it's not eating the grass. I think it's eating feces. So there we go. We've often showed you the scrub hare dung and how pale it is. It's very seldom you actually get to see them doing it. I think it's what it's eating. Oh. Yeah, we're not seeing little... To me, it doesn't look like it's nipping the grass. It's looking like it's going... Oh, now it looks like it's eating grass. And when we first spotted it, I was almost swore I saw it eat a pellet. Very relaxed little scrub hares, these. Jeffany is wondering, why do hares twitch their noses so much? Well, Jeffany, you probably find, if you look closely at an impala's nose even, that it twitches a lot. Or an Inyala. Dave, you're going to hate me. I forgot to take my foot off the brake, so I'm just going to give you... There we go. Okay, thank you. So it's constantly on the lookout for smells that might become dangerous smells quite quickly. But of course you can see it almost certainly relies mostly on those wonderful ears it's got. There you go, cleaning its feet. And now, we found warthogs eating a scrub hare a while ago that we thought was stolen from a predatory bird. And we got to have a look at the closely at the bottom of a scrub hare's foot. Now, it's completely covered in fur, and that enables the scrub hares to move very quietly when they run, so they don't go gadunk gadunk. How would you say a scrub hare? What noise do you think a scrub hare makes? I think it goes poppity poppity poppity. So even their front feet and their back feet, so they've got a pad quite similar to what you would see on the bottom of a leopard or a hyena or a lion, but on top of that pad is a thick layer of fur. Okay, let's leave the little scrubbies. Oh, they are cute though. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely little sighting, that. So I'm going to take a meander down towards the Kiam and down the Moati from there, see if we get any luck around that area. Oh, absolutely stunning. Okay, well, I'm catless so far, but I've had a wonderful time with elephants and lagomorphs. Hashtag SafariLive if you can tell me what a lagomorph is. In the meantime, over to Jamie.
Okay, so while you figure out what a lagomorph is, I can tell you that I am not a lagomorph, nor am I with one. I am still with Tundi, who has picked up the head of her prize and wandered off with it. I think that's pretty much all that's left of it. So she's got the Dacre's head over there, and she's busy completing her meal. I think that's all that's left. So she's made life a little tricky for us. She's moved into a very dense area. Fortunately, this time of year, we can see her. If it were midsummer, or mid-rainy season, would be a more accurate way of saying it, then there's a good chance that we wouldn't be able to see her at all, because all of the trees in front of us would have leaves, and the grass would be thick, long, and green, and we probably would not even know that she was here. The lions are roaring a little bit closer now. I'm pretty sure that they're on Little Gowrie. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty certain that's where they are. And she doesn't seem to be too concerned. They are moving around, moving towards this direction, or in this direction, so there's a chance they might pop out around here. I'll keep listening, and if they are close, and if it sounds like they're on Djuma, then it will pop down in that direction. Unfortunately for our new viewers, if you didn't know, Little Gowrie is outside of our Traverse area, so it's not an area that we visit often anyway. I'm still convinced, or at least I'm still holding out this vain hope that Tlalamba's going to come bounding out of the bushes to introduce herself to me. I'm sure she'll come up to the door, give me her paw so that I could shake it like a good little girl that she is. I'm no doubt that her mother has raised a polite cub. What have you heard? See how alert she's been? She's been like this all afternoon. And back down again. Whatever it wasn't worth abandoning the head of her carcass. Magic Dragon Wizard. Combination of all sorts of amazing things in that name. Magic Dragon Wizard. How many litters do I think that Tundi will be able to produce in her lifetime? She could potentially have another 2 litters. She's 12 years old in December, as discussed. Leopards can live up to 16, 18 years old in some cases. And while it becomes more and more difficult for them the older they get, it's not unheard of for leopards to have cubs right at sort of the extremes of their old age. There's very few animals that go through a natural menopause. Humans, some whales, are the only examples of animals. Other animals go on to reproduce right up until the point that they die. So there's nothing actually biologically stopping her from having at least 2 more litters. You never know. Stranger things have happened. One thing that we can say is that the older an animal gets, just as the same with a human being, certain reflexes get slower. Their senses, as a general rule, tend to degenerate slightly, so they don't hear as well, they don't see as well, they don't smell as well, and they're not as fast. And that, for an animal that lives a solitary existence like a leopard, makes things really very difficult to look after themselves, let alone cubs. I think you'd find if you were to do a proper study, and I'm sure one's been done, I haven't read one, but I'm sure that one's been done, into the success rate of females. I'm sure it's sort of, in terms of raising cubs, I imagine it would sort of become something of a bell curve, if that makes sense. In that, in the beginning, they're not as experienced, so they might struggle. They need to learn from their mistakes, and raising cubs out here is hard with a 70% mortality rate. Then I think as they hit their prime, their mothering skills probably improve as well, and then I think it probably declines as they get older. But there's no real, I don't have any data to back that up. I'm just thinking about it off the top of my head. And it's also, I suppose, it's difficult to really compare, because that's really taking all extenuating circumstances out of the equation. So, for example, if a leopard might find herself in the middle of a male leopard territorial takeover that goes on for a while, and she could lose several litters. And that's completely outside of her control. You can see how thick it is. She basically vanishes into that long grass. This is the best view that I can get of her, actually, short of driving right up close to her, which, as discussed, with Chandi in a thick area is not always the best plan. It is starting to get a little dark now, and absolutely, we have definitely had worse views. Lou is correct. If it gets dark, we'll give it a good go at sticking with her, but I'm not making any guarantees. It becomes more and more tricky with the infrared and the surrounding vegetation. We spoke about the fact that she's been eating bone. She's literally crushing that little Dacre's skull at this point. She's going to probably finish all of it. And when that does happen, you'll find shards of bone in a leopard's scat when they've eaten a small carcass like this, because they do consume quite a lot in the way of the bones. So you'll find shards of bone in their scat. Sometimes they actually get a little bit of indigestion from it. The same thing happens from lions. Same thing happens to lions, not from lions, to lions. And then they have to go and swallow some grass and vomit up the offending piece of bone or hoof that's just a bit too big for them to digest. Hyenas do it as well, but on a far less regular scale, because their stomach acid basically dissolves almost anything that comes into contact with it, which is why they are capable of fully digesting bits of bone, and why their scat comes out initially a sort of green colour. I don't know if you really wanted to know that, but there you go. It comes out a sort of green colour and then goes white, because they've actually managed to digest the bone. And you won't find a piece of bone or hoof in a pile of hyena scat. Just a funny little aside for our newer viewers that didn't know that. I'm going to listen for a little bit longer just in case these lions do roar. They're close to Twin Dams, but on the wrong side of it. And I'm not 100% sure that they're male. I'm going to hopefully unravel that mystery tonight. If I don't, oh well. Speaking of unravelling and re-ravelling, I wonder how Steve is doing with his rain covers.
Thanks, Jamie. So I've switched my my windscreen wiping hand to my spotlight hand, and wow, what a lot of work that was. But that was just so crazy. You couldn't see it because of the level of the canopy here, but a huge herd of wildebeest ran across the road, and right on their tail was a lioness. Oh, but it was still raining, I'm afraid. Sorry about that, folks. We didn't manage to see it, but that is the way it is out here. Just lions, lions, lions. And then when you think you've seen enough lions, well, then you get more lions. So the area we're in, where that happened, could have been the Sausage Tree Pride, could have been the Owinos. It's really hard to say. Just seeing one fleeting glimpse of a lioness surging across the road after what seemed to be an endless stream of wildebeest. And we've got both sides again, wildebeest all over here. We can hear them not very happy with life. But thankfully it seems like we've left the rain behind. Well, for now anyway. We're hoping. We've just gone and raised all the flaps again. We're out of the hot box. Whoa. But the road is very slippery. Vehicle is sliding from side to side. Oh, what's that? What is that? That looks like something over there. Archie, right there on the middle of the light. To the right of that bush. Just to the right of the bush, there's some eyes there. It's either a hyena or a lion. Can't see it at the moment. There's a whole herd of wildebeest running behind at the back. Maybe if I go back a little bit, you might be able to see it. The shape, size and coloration look to me to be a lion, but very likely could just be in the long grass there feeding on one of the millions of wildebeest that have been laid out in front of them on this open plain. Not easy to see when they duck down like that. We'll see if we can get an image for you on screen. A few meters to the right of that mound. Very likely was a lion busy eating. A little bit too far off though to really get a proper view. Right in the light, sort of there somewhere. See how long the grass is. Impossible to spot anything if it does hide down. This is where we've had the Niconico pride and all pride a little bit further up. So sorry about that. Another lion, well, thinking it was a lion by the way that the eyes, there's a shape and the color to eyes. It's hard to explain, but lions and leopards and hyena, their eyes are quite close sort of together in the middle, and there's a sort of brightness to the coloration. When you see herbivore eyes, they're a little bit more to the side, and they also have like a little bit of a twinkle to them rather than the solid sort of brightness, emerald sort of green brightness that is characteristic of a predator. Well, a little bit too far off in the long grass, even with the torch. I saw it just there in the middle of the light, Arch, but nothing now. Maybe if we try a little bit further forward. Sometimes a different angle can improve things. We lose an entire army of lions in this long grass here. You see anything there? I don't see any eye shine anymore. No, nothing to be seen. Well, we'll try hang around another moment and see if we can spot anything lifting its head up. I think it just heard us coming and was like, oh, what's that? Back down into the feeding. Well, we're not having the best of luck showing you any predators this evening, apart from our cheetah, which we lost, and the hyena, which were in the rain. But Brent is on his way to Vuatela watering hole. I think he's still looking for the little chief.
No, I'm not looking for the little chief. I'm looking for apparently a manky, mangy lion. And I see it. I see it too, in fact. Now, there were two hyenas that were sniffing and looking this way. Well, they don't look that bad, guys. Well, actually, I take that back. Coming around into the light. Let me go past the light for you, Dov. Oh my goodness. I take it back. That is a very manky lion. Shame. They must be itching for some rain. I mean, literally itching for some rain. Now, of course, mange seems to clear up quite a bit on the lions once the rain comes in. Shame that guy there, he doesn't look well now. Again, like we were chatting about with elephant damage a bit earlier. Now, there's going to be some people who want us to intervene with mange on these lions. Now, firstly, let me just go through the logistics of treating an animal that's got mange. You would have to catch it and bath it 5 times a day. Now, if you had to dart a lion, especially a lion in this condition, 5 times a day, eventually there would be a negative effect to the drugs and it would probably die anyway. It's already got a compromised immune system. Secondly, mange is a natural part of the ecosystem. So it is part and parcel of how nature controls its predator numbers, especially at this time of the year, at the back end of a dry season, where your buffalo are also struggling, your impala, your kudu, your wildebeest, your zebra are struggling. But the predators obviously taking full advantage of all the available prey that is struggling. So nature needs to compensate for that in some way. And we're seeing it in this case with mange, which we've seen with the sticks as well. And I said these were Mungen pride. They're a long way from home as well. If Vokers catch you, you'll be in trouble. So it is part of the ecosystem. It is there to help keep the numbers of the lions down. And the reason it is quite bad at this time of the year, as I said, it's because it's a time of trial for the prey species as well. Not much nutrients around, and they are struggling a little bit for food, whereas it makes it much easier for the lions to catch them. Andy is wondering, what are the long-term dangers of mange? Well, death. That's pretty much it. So it's caused by a little mite, and eventually they can compromise the immune system enough by feeding off the cats that they can die. Although these guys look like they had a meal. They're not looking skinny. Let's hope our little chief... there we go. Apparently they caught a warthog yesterday. And hopefully our little chief stays away from this lot. Oof. That one on the right. Shame. He's almost lost the whole back tip of his tail. He's not looking well, is he? Even though he has eaten. So Paula is wondering, how does mange spread? Well, it's little mites, so from contact. And in social animals like lions, where they like to touch faces and social contact is very important. That's how that little mite will spread between the individuals. Yes, one's gone behind us, the other is still scratching his armpit. He's coming to give you mange, Davy. Put it in your long locks. Now, as I wasn't quite joking about that, so it's very uncommon, but mange can be actually passed on to human beings. Maybe I'm going to go there with tweezers, Dave, and pick up little mange mites and then put them in your bed. That would be quite evil. Okay, let's go back to Jamie.
Well, we hope that Darby manages to escape that fate. Not much has changed here, to be honest. Tundi is still devouring the skull of her antelope with somewhat subdued enthusiasm. I think she's now quite full, and really just making sure that she doesn't waste a morsel. You know when you go out for a really nice meal, a really good meal that you've been looking forward to for ages, and you've been starving yourself all day just to make sure that you do it justice. Maybe it's just something that I do occasionally. But you try and finish all of it and then you're full, but you still haven't quite finished everything on your plate. So you just slowly devour the last bits, determined not to let one thing go to waste. That's what she's doing, pretty much. Cleaning off the last little scraps and morsels. It makes a lot more sense in a wild context because, of course, Tundi doesn't know where her next meal is coming from or when it's going to be that she gets lucky enough to catch something. And it is luck. There is, of course, there's skill. Leopards are phenomenally skilled hunters, but there's a fair amount of luck involved as well. Everything has to sort of align itself properly for a leopard or a lion or a cheetah to catch a meal, which is why they have relatively low success rates. You can just see her eyes there. For those of you that don't know, or perhaps haven't been watching for all that long, chances are, if this had been about 2 years ago with Tundi, with a kill on the ground, we would have had to leave her already, because it's now dark, it's pretty much the last few rays of light, and at that point we would have had to use a spotlight instead of our infrared capabilities to illuminate her so we could film her. And that in turn can potentially attract other curious animals, mainly hyena, but also lions. And as a result, if we ever had a leopard on it with a kill on the ground, or a leopard with young cubs, we would never able to stay with them past a certain hour because it could potentially put their meals at risk, or even their lives. Now we're in this wonderful position where we can actually sit with our infrared lights and watch them in this way. And it's completely revolutionized the way that we do things at SafariLive. I don't think, because it's been a gradual change, I don't think it's really hit home for a lot of people just how much more we are able to do at night. Follow animals hunting. Not always. It's still difficult, and it's still something that has to be done with great care. But it has given us a much wider, scope of things we can show you. I've got no problem sitting here with Tundi. Look, admittedly, her kill is nearly finished. Nonsensical? That was not a nonsensical question at all. It was a very sensical question. That's not a word. Nonsensical would like to know how often or how much a leopard has to eat each day. A leopard very seldom eats each day. Most of the big predators, in fact, will go 2 or 3 days between meals. That's on average. Sometimes they might get lucky. Sometimes they might have an enormous kill that they then sit and gorge themselves on for 3 or 4 days before moving off and sleeping off the extra weight. A predator can eat up to 15% of its body weight. In the case of hyenas, we're talking about 20%. So it's really quite extreme just how much they can pack into their bellies at any one point in time. It is, of course, a survival adaptation and ability to store as much food as possible. But a meal like this, it really, there's no set amount for a leopard that a leopard has to eat. Tundi will probably need an impala a week. So that's 60 kilograms. She's about 40 kilograms. She won't eat all of the 60 kilograms. Let's say she eats 40 kilograms of meat in a week. And she's about 40 kilograms. So if you look at that per day, confused myself. Yeah, per day, it's just around about 6 kilograms if you average it for her. Obviously, it depends on the leopard. Did I get that right? Yes, I did get that right. Around about 6 kilograms a day if you average it out. But that's a sort of a rough estimate. Now, one thing that I'm very happy about is that here on Djuma, it takes me about 5 minutes to head home at the end of the safari. Mara has a longer journey.
Amy, how happy is she to be with her leopardess Tundi? To be sitting and talking about leopards must be such a nice sort of mix-up. So, folks, don't forget, it is Tracking Tuesday today. And the post is officially out. Check out the Instagram, official SafariLive Instagram page. Get your answers in. I haven't checked it yet myself to see what the track is, so don't think I can give you any clues. Go through, put your answers in. I'm sure the answer will be announced probably tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see how good your tracking is. Instagram, SafariLive official page, Tracking Tuesdays. Very exciting. Nice little concept that's been brought up. Gets everybody thinking, because bearing in mind, folks, tracking was the development of the scientific mind, and that is how we became as smart as we are, although technology is dumbing us up a little bit. Quite funny that we're learning tracks on technology. But anyway, it works both ways. Fantastic. Get your answers in. See how you do. Very exciting to be. We're not doing too many tracks out here, I'm afraid. But what a lovely evening myself and Archie have had. Rainfall, cheetah that we lost for you. I'm terribly sorry, folks. I will do better. I'll improve my negotiation skills with the warden next time, and maybe he'll let us go a little bit earlier so that by the time we get moving we haven't lost sight of the cheetah. Anyway, that will come and go. We'll learn how to work out in these plots. It's been a very nice evening. Lions that I couldn't show you, I'm terribly sorry. We're thinking that that last one that we spotted might actually have been a leopard, because well, the leopards are pretty shy in these parts. It just popped its head up and just disappeared. Anyway, this is an area here that we have, Archie and myself personally, seen 2 leopards before, probably the same female. I'm scanning very hard because I want to try and put a leopard on the board as well today. Wouldn't that be marvelous? Yes, it would be. Yes, it would be. But it's been great having you with us this afternoon. The Mara provides the rain, the wildebeest. We're thoroughly enjoying the numbers and biomass of animals at the moment because, as you know, soon they could just vanish. Very privileged to be up here, and hopefully we're not going to get too much rain to keep us out in the morning, keep us from going out in the morning. It'll be me again with Big James coming out in the Mara. Thanks for joining us, and it will be good night from the Mara team. Let's go back down to Brent Leo Smith in Djuma.
With these poor itchy kitties, they can recover quite easily from it. What these guys have is called sarcoptic mange, which is the worst of the 2 types of mange. And you can see it's always almost worse on the elbows and things like that. That's where they sort of, and the ears. It's where the mites start to dig in. So they dig in around the hair follicles. Now, the hair loss and scabs and pus and all that is actually formed by an allergic reaction to the mite. And there's also immunodepressants in them, which can affect their sort of hunger. It sort of stops them eating. One of these looked like he ate a lot more of that warthog. We don't know how big it was. Shame. Davy, I wouldn't put mange in your bed. Well done to Chad, Catherine, Jenny, and many others to the answer to the Legomorph quiz. Yes, Legomorphs are hares and rabbits. And, oh, what have you seen, Dov? Did he pop his head up? Ah, he did. There's some impala alarming at them, so I don't think they're going to have much success in hunting right here at the moment. But with animals like this around camp, you've got to be extra careful because they are in a state. Oh, impala, you see it, Dav? Or was it a Ninyala? You see, straight zoom? Impala. It's the same one that was snorting at the lions. It's decided that the lions are no longer a threat. They are just going to lie there and it's thirsty. He's now suddenly realized that there is an impala and he's not interested and going to continue licking. Well, it's wonderful to be back in the Sabi Sands. It's been a splendid first drive. I'm quite glad I didn't see Hosanna this afternoon. You know, I wanted to be quite special, you know, just sort of a big deal when we see him. So I'm looking forward to catching up with some of our other favorite cat characters, the Nkahumas, Hosanna, Tandi, maybe even Nkanyeni. But from all of us here at Safari Live, bon nuit, bonsoir, adieu, and we'll see you kesho.